Hello and welcome back to Outside the Box, an MLS podcast. My name is Juanners.
This is Daniel.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Joss.
And we are fully in the thick of it when it comes to MLS soccer. Match day 22. Crazy to think where we're at. Soccer of summer is rolling on. Club World Cup. For MLS teams, it's behind them. Gold Cup is behind us, but MLS rolls on, and we had a great match day, y'all. How was your guys' 4th of July? We'll maybe start off with that lead in, but we'll start with you, Daniel. How was your 4th?
I had a fantastic 4th of July. Me and the homies did some beer Olympics. I found out that I can't drink like that anymore. We were Team Ohio, and we placed last, so I think that's pretty fitting. Good times.
Jeremy, how was your 4th of July?
I spent it watching soccer, writing, and sleeping, and I couldn't have asked for a better holiday.
You know, that's sometimes the best resistance is just to sleep through these holidays. Joss, I am gonna ask, what were you doing on 4th of July?
Just blowing stuff up. My cousin had his gender reveal for his baby, so that was fun. Were there any games on, guys? Anybody know?
I mean, I was stuck watching a game for sure.
Did that particular game have any fireworks?
Despite the Burgundy banter the week preceding, me claiming there should be fireworks on the pitch for this team, there was a bunch of fireworks for this. I mean, not to beat around the bush anymore. The Rapids. I spent my time watching the Rapids, and I'm sure you spent your time watching the Rapids too.
I did. Off and on. Of course, wanted to be around. But I noticed, like, I had just gotten to the 4th of July and we were just getting ready to start lighting off fireworks, and I got a score update, and I was like, well, this can't be good. And then, actually, Dejan Joveljic scored 4 minutes in. And things were looking great.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big games here for 4th of July was Colorado Rapids versus Sporting Kansas City. Not to go too deep into a Burgundy banter episode, because I have a lot to say about this one, but I want to go to Daniel, because I remember quite a couple weeks ago you had said that there is something like good about Colorado. I'm kind of going back to you here. What do you still see good for Colorado at this point?
Honestly, I was talking with some people on X, the Everything app today, and a crazy stat was made known to me that Mihailovic is actually leading the league in expected assists.
Yes.
He has 14 expected assists, and he doesn't have anybody who can get on the other end of the ball. So what's good for them is that, I guess, if they can find a way to maximize that. That's about it at this point. I don't really know. I'm happy for our guy Joveljic, though. I mean, we talked 2 months ago, like, hey, is he going to be the guy who finally breaks through that barrier of over 15 goals for a Sporting Kansas City player? What was it the last time, Josh? 2017 that happened?
Yeah, something insane like that.
And he is well on his way. I mean, over and over and over again, I said it, multiple people said it, he couldn't do it without service. The guy's just good at soccer. What can I say? He's just a good soccer player. And he proves that pretty much every week now. So what's good for the Rapids? I don't know. What's good for Sporting Kansas City? Dejan Joveljic. So
yeah.
This was a match that before started, I think you had asked if this was SKC's best 11, and I was like, well, they're still missing Jake Davis. And who else were they missing? Shallow. The fact they did this without Shallowy, like, is that surprising, Joss? Like, am I overrating Shallowy at this point? I know he's kind of streaky, but I've always felt he was a a pretty decent winger. Am I like wrong? Is he in some bad form?
Shallowy is our second top scorer this season with 5, so not the best. But I think that he always turns up against the Rapids. At least at home. Obviously, away the Rapids have had our number. This is our first win in Colorado since 2014, so it's been a little bit. But Shallowy has been in and out of the lineup. But I think that Carey likes to put him in there. He's one of the longest serving guys there. He's a good rotation piece, especially with Tommy and with Shoppy. But Eric Tommy, another guy who got on the score sheet this game, scored an absolute worldie. I think it was a worldie. I mean, he took it past 2 or 3 guys, and then from outside the box, shout out the name of the podcast, curls it in. And you can't drop. I mean, I think that's 2 goals in 2 games for Eric Tommy. And you can't really drop a guy on form like that either. So I see why Shallowy was dropped. He hasn't been performing as well of late as Eric Tommy has or other guys in that position, but he's definitely a good guy to turn to off the bench, which I'm fine with him being an impact guy more than a starter. I think that left wing is definitely an area we can upgrade in.
Yeah, I want to pull the cast here because in a lot of Rapid circles, there's kind of this belief that the Rapids are above the kind of bottom teams of the West just by default, just because of how bad some of these teams are in the West. After Dallas, you have Salt Lake, Kansas City, and Austin. And Kansas City, this was a 6-point game for them. Like now they're just 3 points out of a playoff, out of the 9th spot. And I think this is kind of the time you start looking at the table now, because it's one thing to look at it kind of early on where, it's so like it'll change week to week. But now it's like, oh yeah, this is starting to, build the next, the narratives for the end of the season. And for Colorado, it's a kind of scary one. Jeremy, how are you seeing these 2 teams? Because I did see a meme that said teams in the Western Conference may be nearer than objects may seem closer. Oh, man, what is that? The mirror shit. Objects in river, yeah, whatever it is, and it's a Kansas City like guy running like right, and that's all I could picture up to this match. Like, oh my God, we're gonna get lapped by Kansas. But Jeremy, how are you seeing the West right now?
The Rapids did not get lapped by Kansas, but they did lose, so that's unfortunate. What this does for the greater picture of the West is I'm just looking at those 8 and 9 spots because 7, I feel like the top 7 are pretty settled right now, considering 7th place is LAFC and they have 4 games in hand, which is stupid. But you know what? That just happens sometimes. But where this is really going to come down to is Houston right now currently leading the rest of the pack in 8th. We'll get to them later. Colorado in 9th. And Austin in 10th. All 3 of those teams have 26 points. And LAFC has 26 points too, but once again, 4 games in hand. Who gives a shit? Where it gets interesting after that is SKC, Dallas, and Salt Lake all being separated by 2 points. So SKC on 23, RSL on 22, Dallas on 21. RSL, by the way, they've played for a month without Diego Luna. So you assume there might be a couple of wins coming in there, but also, like, I still believe they're highly fraudulent. So not too worried about Salt Lake, not worried about Dallas. So it really comes down to Houston, Colorado, Austin, and SKC. And I'm very, very tempted to just drop Austin down into the RSL Dallas tier because I don't have any belief in Austin FC. And they didn't play this weekend, so I have to get my digs in now. Dang, man. And picking between Houston, Colorado, and SKC is going to be a ridiculous task for me because Houston are starting to rise. Colorado are just like, that's the thing I'm going to say about the Rapids. They're just kind of there. And although they put together probably one of the best single game performances, at least the stats say that it's one of the best single game performances by XG in like the entire American soccer analysis database, which that goes back a pretty long time, guys. you got to be able to win those games that you dominate. And the problem with Colorado is that they just don't convert their chances. And this is the biggest exclamation point of that. How do you put up 4 XG and only get 1 goal? Now, two of those, I think it's about 1.8 or 1.6 of that 4 XG is just from the penalty spot. And Georgi Mihailovic missing a penalty in this one, huge. And he did miss it, it hit the post. So I feel like it's a variance game for Colorado. Like, eventually some of these chances have to start hitting the back of the net. Like, right? You have a DP striker, you have you Darren Yappy still coming off the bench who missed a big one in this one too. I don't know. I feel like Colorado is still set up to make one to stay in these postseason spots, but I just can't back. I mean, I can't like. What's the word I'm looking for? I just can't like count out Kerry Zavagnin and the mighty SKC now. And it isn't so much. It isn't so much that like Joveljic is banging him in. I feel like we've completely lost their most important player of the season so far, and his name is Jansen Miller. Guys,
Truth.
he is unbelievable. If rookie of the year, because they give it newcomer of the year in this league because they bring players from outside of Europe. But if there's a rookie of the year award for a player that was either drafted or just a homegrown who's just broken in to his various team, whichever team he plays for, this is Jansen Miller's award to lose. It's been his award to lose for a couple of months, and he just keeps getting better. So I feel like as long as SKC has the absolute rock of Jansen Miller and Joveljic banging him in up top, and John Pulskamp, who is comfortably one of the best goalkeepers in this league, I feel like that SKC will always have a fighting chance, which means that for the rest of the season, all of the points that are at play between those those like mid-4 fighting for those final 2 playoff spots, they're going to be at stake. Yeah, it's just nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And Colorado absolutely should have won this game, but they didn't.
Anything else to add there, Joss? Or because I mean, I want to highlight Ian James, who, even though he conceded the penalty, the fact that he and Jansen Miller are right now the better of the SKC center back says a lot about just kind of the recent history at the position. I know there hasn't been quite the in and out starter, but what are you making of this one before we move on? We'll give you the final word.
Quick fun little stat. Jansen Miller, obviously, he's been outstanding. Jeremy, thank you for shouting him out. I hope my Venmo transaction clears with you for spreading Jansen Miller propaganda. But John Pulskamp got a second assist of the season in this game against Colorado, tying the record for MLS goalkeeper assists in a single season. So
one more, and our guy, that's my guy, big Bear John Pulskamp, he could be an MLS record holder, and I think that's really cool. So he's been outstanding also, just as a whole this season, and I'm really, really glad that he's starting to get some plaudits for it. He was included in the MLS Team of the Week this week, so second week running that John Pulskamp's been the goalkeeper of the week. I mean, conceded a goal. Come on.
But his aura made Mihailovic miss the penalty.
Okay, I'll give you that. Let's go to let's stick around to the fourth, because FC Dallas, notorious for their dollar hot. Is it dollar hot dog? No, it's not. That is Phoenix, right? No, they're famous for Logan Hot Dog Farrington. That's where that connection is. That's his actual nickname, which is still crazy to me.
Wait, do we know why?
Do we know why? I'm not tapped into the Dallas lore. I'm sure there's a reason why, but the reason evades me now. What doesn't evade me is just how bad FC Dallas are. Without Osaze Urugide, this team just has no backline leadership whatsoever. Like, and it's rough because we were at a point. I was early on in saying we were all kind of poo pooing the Luciano Acosta trade, and he we all kind of said this is kind of the worst of it because he's not going to have that foundation behind him. And sure enough, like here we are where Lucha is just kind of in a rough spot. What are we thinking of Dallas? And if anyone wants to take the lead on Minnesota as well, who just kind of, they got Yeboah and Oluwaseyi back, so in the lineup. But what is the cast feeling about Dallas at the moment?
Ooh. I think my overall take on it thus far has been I've expected more from the Peter Musa Acosta link up, and it's never really come to fruition. And there's probably a lot more that goes into that than just thinking two good players can link up on the field and score goals and try to keep them in games, which we all know there is. They don't get a whole lot of help in their midfield, and they haven't all season, and their back line is atrocious. It's going to take more than one summer transfer window to fix this. I don't know. I just don't really have a lot of positive things to say about them right now, other than it does often feel like teams can be just so bad and then be a transfer or two away from being bang average to even good. And I think going into this summer, into the Leagues Cup break especially, I think FC Dallas needs to hope that, at least their fans need to hope that they get that one or two players that can get them over the edge. I mean, they need a midfielder and they need a center back. That's like without question. They need to find someone to replace Abubakar, and they need, I don't know if you want to replace Leggett or Fiera or Delgado, because they're all bad, but you can pick one. I don't know which one you think is probably the worst of all of them, probably Fiera, but it's just tough sledding right now.
Can I expand on that Musa? Can I expand on that Musa Acosta point really quickly? So Luciano Acosta only has one primary assist all season.
Oh my god,
that's a real stat. That came midweek, June 25th against San Jose, and he assisted Peter Musa. Dallas lost that game 4-2 because they conceded a goal in the 76th minute to Bolaru to make it 3-2, and then immediately Kike Ferreira gets sent off. Immediately, 3 minutes later. And then Sebastian Ibiaga commits a dog-so. So they finish this game against San Jose with 9 men, and they lose 4-2 at home. The last time this Dallas team won a home game, we're going to look at that. Well, first of all, it's worth noting that their last home win was against AV Alta in the Open Cup. Let's go a little bit farther back for that. It is March 29th against Sporting Kansas City.
Nice. Of course.
They've had 4 home games in their last 5 against Philadelphia, San Jose, San Diego, and Minnesota. So, yeah, that's pretty good competition. But all 4 of those games, all 4 of those games took place as the calendar was turning to June and July, which is peak Dallas months, because Dallas has one advantage over all those teams during that time: the heat, and how much of a hellhole it is to play in Frisco during that time period. I am thoroughly amazed that they haven't even been able to garner more than 2 points, because they've only gotten 1 point from those 4 home games, and it was a 0-0 draw against Philadelphia, where Abubakar got sent off in that game, and they just had to defend for their entire life. So that's somehow the best result that they've had during this stretch. Now they're about to have 2 road games in the next week. Both of them are in California, so that they won't have to do a ton of traveling. LAFC and San Jose, before they host St. Louis, and then they host NYCFC before Leagues Cup. That St. Louis game, that's going to be ugly. That's going to be very, very ugly. It won't be the ugliest game of the year, but it's gonna be downright hideous. But I don't see them winning any of those games. I think I have more faith in St. Louis to like eke out a point during that game than I have to Dallas to just beat a terrible St. Louis team. I think they're completely rudderless. The point Juanners made about Urojide is completely valid. And all that I expected from the Musa Acosta battery is just like has been pissed away. Really, it has been. That could have been the best striker number 10 partnership in the league, and so far they've only combined for 1 goal involvement. Ridiculous.
It's a damn shame.
Big damn shame.
You know,
We're wasting Peter Musa, man.
I think you need to free Peter Musa. He needs to go to SKC.
We don't need him. Day on. However,
That'll force SKC to play a 2-striker system for the first time
a certain
in their
team
history.
in the Rockies might need a 9.
Oh my God! Whatever. No, you know what? Give it to me, because then you'd have to root for Peter Musa, the Rapid.
Fine. That's a good point. That's a good point. Anyway,
I really rate
100%.
Peter Musa. Even like earlier when people were like kind of doubting whether or not he'd be able to transition. Because I don't know, he's still fucking doing a lot for Dallas. Like, I feel like get my man some help or free him, either or. But I to Jeremy's point about the battering ram, I kind of feel the same way about Minnesota and Oluwaseyi and Yeboah. Like, it's rare. It's crazy. We were in some form. We were in some streak of games where Yeboah was straight up benched for Tani. And then Tani goes to Gold Cup. They come back, and they're figuring it out again. What is the cast feeling about Minnesota? They were kind of one of our darlings in preseason, and sure enough, they're in third, just 4 points clear of Portland Timbers there. But Portland does have a game in hand. But what are we thinking on Minnesota? Have they lived up to the hype?
Oh, and then some. I think that they've been beyond what any of us were imagining they would be. And in this game against Dallas, it was textbook Minnesota. I mean, again, they scored from a long throw, a Michael Boxall long throw. It's almost like, you guys know the Family Guy bit where Peter keeps doing the corner 3?
Corner 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. He plays like an old and like an old basketball game, like on an Atari or something.
Oh, okay.
And he's playing Cleveland, I think. And he's like, you can't do that bullshit where you keep going to the corner and hitting a 3 ball. And Peter's like, I'm not going to. And then he keeps doing it. He goes, corner 3. And he just keeps sinking it every time. That's a lot of what I think goes through the head whenever Michael Boxall's like cleaning off the ball before he does a long throw. Because he knows that this is like basically unstoppable for some reason. Teams don't know how to defend against a long throw, and Minnesota have perfected it again. And I just think it's so refreshing to see, like with all of the good plays that we see in this league. I mean, Messi was unstoppable again last weekend, but with all that being said, sometimes a good old-fashioned long throw into the box is all you need to put the ball into the net, and that's what counts at the end of the game. And Minnesota is really the only team that's keeping that alive in this league, and I think that's so important. So I love how good Minnesota have been, and I love the way that they've been so good is by being hard to beat defensively, killer on the transition, and go ahead, put some long throws into the mix as well, and absolutely terrified the defenders for some reason.
They can't keep getting away with this, right?
I hope they do.
Any other closing thoughts on Minnesota? They did get Dane St. Clair back. It's been a while since we did a pod, but I think Spiel was in goal for a bit. I know he had some errors there. I think we did talk about it, but St. Clair's back. Tani's back. Anything else on Minnesota?
I'm seeing conflicted things here. Did they come out in a 5-4-1 or a 5-3-2? Because if they came out in a 5-4-1 and put Tanny on the wing, that is badass.
I think. I mean, I'd have to see the passing sequences, but I mean, whether it's 5-4-1 or 5-3-2, I think the goal is just to hit you on the counter either way, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I mean, it's like whether Tanny is a bit more wide or a bit more centrally. I mean, I think they're the best transition team in the league, and Joaquin Pereira's helps with that. I don't know if you guys saw his one of his goals where he like flicked it over. I think it was against Dallas? I think this was the Dallas goal, right? Where he flicked the ball over and like dribbled around the guy, got around him and shot and just did magic, bro. Like I think Pereira's a crazy magician in the league and best transition team. I don't know who else does it better than Minnesota.
Nobody does.
Nobody.
And interestingly enough, in this win, they actually had almost 50% of the ball, which is unheard of in any Minnesota win, because usually they have around 35% whenever they're winning. So, not sure if Eric Ramsey's like trying to instill a different play style in these guys, or Dallas are just.
It says more about FC Dallas.
Or does it? Yeah. You think it says more about FC Dallas? Okay.
Oh yeah, they're bad.
They are kind of bad. And I was so shocked by Jeremy's pull of the one primary assist. So I looked at DaCosta and Evander's stats. Evander has been, I mean, he's MVP caliber. And DaCosta, I think, has 3 goals and 6 assists. Lucho has 5 goals, 1 assist on the season. So,
yeah, and we had him probably rated at early season.
Yeah.
So props to the ball knowers here on the podcast, because I think that one's we just hit the nail on the head on for Dallas. Let's stick to the final 4th of July game, LA Galaxy, Vancouver Whitecaps. Galaxy, the most notable of the Galaxy game here is not the fact that Josef Paintsil scored 2 goals. It's the supporter walkout, which, sometimes you got to, just can't give it to them. Like, for as much as I hate Galaxy supporters, I thought this was super cool. I don't know what you guys thought about the game itself, but the one thing that really stuck out to me was this and the result, of course. But I'll throw it to you guys. What'd you make of this one?
I warned you about this. I warned you that Vancouver was going to be unsustainable.
Okay.
And they did something that only one other team in the league has done this year. RSL. They lost to the LA Galaxy.
Hold on.
Now the Galaxy
Jeremy. They don't have their 2 best players.
That doesn't matter. They whipped the Seattle Sounders with this type of roster. This exact squad that they had without, like, they were even more beat up against the Sounders, and they whipped them. So I feel like even though they don't have their 2 best players, that stink of losing that CCL final in that way is still permeating.
Yeah.
It's still going to be just ridiculous.
Yeah. And
oh, no. Is my voice bad, guys?
Just slightly.
Oh, no. That's bad. I'll try and change it. But yeah, I feel like overall that this is where the Vancouver cool off period begins. They're not going to be as insane as they were through the early months of the season. They're still a playoff team, don't get me wrong, but you don't lose to the Galaxy, guys. Not in 2025.
You're saying this, but then just the week prior, they beat LAFC 1-0 with that same rotated lineup. Like here's the thing. You can't just sell me Jesper Sorensen and then take him away from me like that. All right, I still believe in the quality of Vancouver. I still think they're just one of the best when everyone's available. And I don't know if we'll see Gald at this point, but he's definitely a player that if Vancouver get a player of his quality at the right time and he gets integrated and starts, actually playing up to what Jesper Sorensen needs out of his wingers, then this Vancouver team like they've already done enough to hang around and like lose this game, if that makes sense. Like if LA Galaxy was having a better season, if they weren't just dog shit unlucky for a lot of, because they could have had their first win way earlier when I was calling out a fraudulent RSL win at home against them, right? And it was fitting that they were the first to give them their loss, their to get their first win off of them, right? But I still think Vancouver, like they have just been done so fucking dirty by MLS, just playing through the international window and having, Brian White, who's like not even getting games at the national team. He's just on the bench. Like, I hate that for them, especially for teams that are serious about, well, I wouldn't say they're serious about competing, but like a guy in Sorensen who is kind of serious in competing, like my heart kind of breaks for that in that sense. But anyone else feeling that same way? Like, just give them time for their players.
I'm feeling that way for Vancouver. If you guys don't mind, I'd love to pivot to the LA Galaxy.
Go for it.
If that's okay with you guys.
Because I know you're begging to watch this team for some reason.
Look, I love watching the LA Galaxy, and it's part like hate watch, and it's part like, have you guys ever seen the movie Bad News Bears?
No.
Oh yeah.
It's a baseball movie about pretty much everything that can go wrong on like in a sport, essentially. And that's how it felt watching Joseph Painstill like these last couple of weeks, like skying shots he would always put on target, missing wide open runs, just doing nothing. Peck's doing the same exact thing. It's been hard to watch, but these last couple of weeks they've kind of seemed to put it together. I think Marco Royce with the captain man, I actually thought he played really, really well against Vancouver. It was nice seeing Payne still get his 2 goals. I think they have potentially their striker of the future if they extend his loan or buy him. I don't even know if he has a buy option. I hope he does, because I think he's a really good player and can be a very good striker in this league. And I think getting Zonka off the field actually helped them a lot, and replacing him with Garces, because that guy is a walking disaster. He might be the worst center back that I have ever seen in the MLS. And he's one of them. He's like up there, like as like a starting center back. And I remember seeing when the rumors that he was bought started like flying into the MLS, like fans being like, "Thank you for taking him off our hands." And I was just like, well, no, he's got European experience. That should translate decently well over here. And I don't know why I keep thinking that over and over and over again, and it never translates well over here. If they stink in Europe, they generally stink over here. So, yeah, I mean, I think that helped a lot too. And this LA Galaxy team, I mean, there's absolutely no hope at this point that they can even think about getting a spot in, even as a wild card in this playoff. That's just how bad of a hole they've dug themselves. But it's kind of nice seeing them turn around. It's only fun to kick people while they're down for so long, I guess.
Wrong.
Okay, I got you. What you got for us, Joss? Anything?
Quietly, I think Marco Royce has 8 goal contributions in his last 8 games. So it's kind of fun to see. It's fun to see the Galaxy players kind of realize that they don't have to suck as much as maybe we thought. I don't know when the Greg Vanney contract extension happened. What were our thoughts on that? Were we confused? Were we like, no, I mean, he won the cup, he deserves something? I mean, it feels like I don't say like they're turning things around, but the players really did kind of rally around him, especially like Ricky Puig, who publicly was saying, support these guys, support Vanney, and do it for the players because we all really like him. And I'm just kind of like, it's kind of nice to see the players realizing that they still can play for their pride. And Marco Royce being a prime example of that, a guy who, he doesn't have to come over here and perform. He can come over here and chill on the beach. And I kind of thought he was doing that initially, but since then he's actually been quietly decent in this summer season so far. But what did you guys think when Vanney got extended, and how do you think that contract extension is looking kind of now?
I definitely have thoughts on this. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, sure, that's the right move because they were really good last year. And when you have to get rid of half your team in the off season, of course you're not going to be as good. I didn't think they'd be this bad, but once again, the bounces just didn't go their way. The bounces are their bounces are starting to go their way, guys. So yeah, I think it was a perfectly fine contract extension at the time, and I think it'll be fine in the future too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The one thing I will say before I let Daniel speak on this is just from experience in from the Rapids side of things, a lot of the I wonder when this was done, because something about announcements like kind of like this happen like coaches tend to get extended. I wonder if he got extended earlier in the season after winning MLS Cup and they only just now announced it. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of my pessimistic take on the FO side of things, because I've seen that from the Rapid side. So I'm just wondering, like, you know, how this how like the timeline of things, because I don't think he sticks around if he hadn't gotten an earlier contract renewal. But what do you think about that, Daniel?
I think how I judge these contract extensions is based off of how many years they were extended for. So he's only around till 2028, which means the hot seat still exists. The contract is still small enough, and there's a short enough gap that if he still stinks at his job, he can get fired and bought out. So there is still a hot seat there. But he did just win the MLS Cup, and we all know Ricky Pooch is a top 3 midfielder in this league, a top 10 impact player in this league, and they are a significantly better team when he's healthy. So there needs to be some, I don't know about grace, because they are professionals. They are getting paid to do a do, right? Like if you stick at your own job for a year, like, are you going to get fired? Are you going to get put on a PIP? Like, would you get extended for 3 more years? I mean, I get the arguments here, but I think that 3-year extension is just enough to keep him on the hot seat. If, say, next year he does the same exact thing with a full strength lineup and this happens again and they're not a top 5 team in the West like they expect with the wage bill that they're spending, yeah, absolutely, he should be on the hot seat. But I think the extension was a good one. It kind of keeps the players happy, because what Josh said was 100% correct. The players love him. And if you have a top 10 player in the league who can literally go anywhere in the world right now than a top 15 team in Europe, if he's saying, hey, I want this guy here, and you go off and get rid of him, then he's going to want to leave. And you don't want him to leave either, because he's the face of your franchise. So I really like the move personally. And I do agree with you, Juanners. It was probably something that was premeditated and they announced it. But the timing of the announcement was really, really bad.
Yeah. I mean, it was also after the whole Mark Delgado situation, which I still find very funny to this day. But oh man, good old Galaxy talk. Because I mean, I will say they did have some bad bounces, as Jeremy said. So now that they're going their way, it's like, oh yeah, they do have talent in Peck and Paint Cell, and they do have now 2 creators in Fagundes and Royce, kind of playing as 2 8s behind a front 3. Christian Ramirez benched. Kind of sad. I'm kind of sad to see that, but you know, maybe he can go to Colorado, get some bench minutes there. You know, who knows? We need a striker though. That's all I know. Any other final thoughts on these teams? You know, top table side, Vancouver versus bottom side. Kind of a role reversal, but any other thoughts on these guys? No, let's talk about New York City, Toronto FC, July 3rd. A weird Wednesday night game. I don't know why we couldn't have a 4th of July at good old Yankee Stadium, but after last week, Toronto, they had a great win against Portland. Not to bring that up, Jeremy, but this was you know, following the heels of one Lorenzo Insigne and Federico Bernardeschi being both bought out. That opens up 2 DP slots for Toronto FC, and I'm excited because I want to see Robin Fraser. I want to see a window where he gets guys that he can probably trust, and bolster out his team. But yeah, Lorenzo Insigne and the Italian era is over. What are we thinking about these guys in general, and how are we feeling?
I'm going to take the lead with Toronto here. I have to bring up what happened the week before this, but only from a Toronto perspective. We'll get into Portland later. For 2 games after the international break ended, Toronto lined up in a 4-3-3 in both of their home games. During the second half against the Red Bulls, on the Wednesday, so about like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago, when they played the Red Bulls midweek, returning from the international break, they figured out what this team can do, and that is harass the midfield. And what they did was they used that base of just being compressing space in the midfield and just harassing every single ball that came in there, every single ball carrier. And they probably should have beaten the Red Bulls on that game 2 weeks ago, that midweek. Because they dominated. They had a very, very good second half in that game. At least I thought, compared to what they've been doing in the past. Then they beat Portland 3-0. Took advantage of an early free kick, added the second after halftime, and then were basically in cruise control for the rest of the game because they kept the pressure up in the midfield for the entire game. And I don't think Portland did themselves any favors either. I didn't expect them to win this game against NYCFC. I didn't think they would get this embarrassed. But at the same time, you have to be happy if you're a Toronto fan, given the way these 3 games have gone since the international break ended, because Bernardeschi and Insigne are gone. And you now have 2 open DP slots, a lot of money available to deal with those DP slots, depending on how much. You've spent a fair amount of money on both of those buyouts too, so that's unfortunate. So even though the rest of this season might be a wash, you have a head coach who throughout this season has been trying his hardest to find the best way that this team can play, usually having to account for 1 or 2 of those DPs. Now they're gone. The rest of the players on this team now have the ability to fight for their roster spot, fight for what they're going to do next year. And you're going to see what's going to happen in the winter when those DP slots are inevitably going to get filled. This has been a very good couple of weeks for Toronto.
Anyone else want to speak on Toronto? Because I have a bit more to say about them, but welcome to hear any thoughts from Daniel or
kind of like a fleeting thought. They have saved themselves $20 million in salary expendability. Yes, they were DPs. Yes, there is a cap. Yes, owners don't have to spend up to that cap, and we have seen owners do it over and over and over again. Cough, cough, Philadelphia Union. But Toronto has an ownership group that is willing to spend, and they're going to be more willing to spend now that they saved themselves $20 million a year from 2 players who did not produce. So I'm super excited for Toronto fans. I mean, I think this means that they should have more money to open up and kind of spread the wealth around and strengthen positions of need. This should be a very, very, very good thing. And it's also very, very nice to see that the model of, hey, let's just buy 2 players. And I say this every freaking podcast. I'm so sorry for beating a dead horse. But the model of, hey, let's buy 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 good players and throw trash out everywhere else and try to win this league with 3 DPs. I'm glad that model is proven to just fail over and over and over again. And your spine is so, so, so important. And hopefully Toronto now has the wages to be able to spend for an actual spine.
Yeah, well, what I'll say about Toronto before we move on, because I do think that after this window, if there's not a clear, Frazier might not even get the window right to spend, like Jeremy alluded to. It could be a winter, a winter kind of thing. I fear for Frazier losing this job, because I do think like having to navigate Are they on the team? Are they not on the team? All right, can we put him in a 10 role? Can Insigne not? Like having to put up with that. Like I think him and kind of also the same thing with Eric Quill at Dallas. I know we haven't talked much head coaches, but for me, Frazier has a soft spot. But I think you can't keep playing Kosi Thompson. Can't keep playing these players that are like just a bit below league average, because as the game went on, this dude got put in a spin cycle for New York's third, and man, like I thought Toronto were better than the scoreline suggested, and NYC, I think they are just the most mid team. Like they are middle. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe they're not. No, they're 11th in the supporter shield, right? But I don't know. Like, what are your guys' vibes on NYC right now? Because I just can't help but feel so like meh on them.
I'm pretty sure they just signed the Santiago Rodriguez replacement this week.
Oh, who do they get?
Or
Maybe that might change my mood.
Nicholas Fernandez. I'm trying to remember where he plays from.
Let's
But where he plays
go.
from- Yeah. So
I don't know who that is.
I feel like that's a step in the right direction for them.
Okay.
But at the same time, you're right. Like NYCFC is so weird because they're one of the few teams that are still committed to using a center DP slot on a center back. And a center back who, like, no one thinks of Thiago Martins when they're thinking, oh yeah, this is one of the best center backs in the league. So
Justin Hack,
I
though.
feel like they're Justin Hack is doing interesting things. But I feel like the interesting thing with Toronto NYCFC is getting Aiden O'Neill. First of all, I am kind of a fan of that. I think he's been a little underrated acquisition, but they still don't have James Sands, who's still hurt. They still don't have Keaton Parks, and they've had to do a lot of wacky stuff in the midfield as a result of that. Because Keaton Parks, when
isn't James Sands
Go
gone
ahead.
though? He's at he's at St. Pauli.
Yeah, and but he's still hurt. He's hurt and he's gone. And I feel like they didn't properly address that need until they brought in O'Neill. So I feel like with NYCFC, their attackers have been fine. Hannes Wolf in particular has still been on a bit of a heater. But, man, they're just so weird. They're so weird. And I can never get over them using a DP slot on a center back. Like, I know they're really heavy into the U22 initiative, but so many of those U22 signings they made over the past couple of seasons have really been misses. Because you have, let's take a look from this game. You have Agustin Ojeda, who was supposed to be very, very good. He, on the year, has 1 assist. He started 8 games. He's played in 20. That's terrible. Then there's always the Julian Fernandez. Like, oh, he's going to do it this year. He has 2 goals and 3 assists. And when you're building a team like that, you need those U22s to really step up and be the types of players to carry this team over the top. And I guess to an extent that includes Bakrar, who I believe is also on a U22 deal. And he's been pretty ass. I'm just gonna say that. That shouldn't be controversial.
No,
It seems like their roster build. Yeah, their roster build is weird, and because of that, you can't put your finger on whether or not this team is good or bad, because they don't really have the horses, and they're relying on a 38-year-old Maxi Morales in the year 2025.
Hey, more credit to them, right? All those Argentine, what is it? I was gonna say geezers. Yeah, Argentine geezers. Maybe that'll be the name of the podcast. But Any other final? It's crazy because this is City Football Group, and they're just so like mid. I don't know. Any other thoughts, Josh, Daniel? You guys ready to move on?
I like that you brought up it being City Football Group because there is a really good article up talking about NYCFC's like tactical flexibility that they've had as of late. And Justin Egan over at the Outfield, he did a really good deep dive into how Justin Hack has been deployed in the most recent weeks. He's kind of been given the like John Stones role, which, you know, John Stones famously at Manchester City, and Pep Guardiola tinkered with his role a lot. Making him as like a makeshift center back into right back into midfield so that the team can play like very possession heavy in like a 3-2-5. And against Montreal, the game before last, he was deployed in that role and they lost. But then against Toronto, he was deployed in a different role, and it allowed for like the wing backs to have much more attacking prowess. And both of the wing backs were involved in Ilinich and Kevin O'Toole, who came on, both scored from wingback. So, or Ilinich was the assist. Kevin O'Toole scored the goal. It's a lot. I just think it's cool to see like all of the different tactical flexibility that we see across this league, from like Minnesota playing long ball, long throws and corner kicks, and you want to die by playing against them, to the City Football Group B, C, D, E, or F team. I don't know where NYCFC really falls in that spectrum, but playing like tactically, kind of like how a mini Pep Guardiola would tactically change up his team. And it's funny, Justin Hack has become MLS's John Stones in a way, and that's kind of a funny comparison to think about.
Hey, now it's not so silly having him in a best East 11, right?
No.
Especially when you impose the one club rule, as I did not need to do that, but I felt like
take a little too.
For sure. Let's change gears here, because all the City Football Group nonsense. It's good stuff, but it's nonsense. I hate City Football Group. But let's talk Seattle Sounders Columbus Crew. This one ended a bit rough with a collision for Fry. Very scary moment. I actually switched over to the Gold Cup, so I missed the entire stoppage time, because I figured, stoppage time, right? And it wasn't only until after I found out that had happened. So that was kind of a shock initially after seeing Mexico win. But going back to the Seattle Columbus game, that was some scary moments. And then, of course, at the end, when Schmetzer is like, just end the game, and Wilfred Nancy's like, yeah, like, what are we doing? I thought that was a very good show of class from both the managers there. I don't know what the referee was thinking at that point, especially when you have two managers of Schmetzer and Nancy's candor yelling at you. But before that, the game itself, I think Seattle is just where good attackers go to just lay and lose minutes to fucking Paul Rothrock. And yeah, what'd you guys make of this one? Sunday Night Soccer. I thought the sight lines were terrible for this one.
You don't like the NFL stadium?
I do not like. Well, you'd think they would have a much panned out view, but I feel like I could barely see where any of the players were moving. It felt very jarring. It felt like FIFA when you're zoomed all the way in. And then they would cut to the midfield. They would cut to midfield, a person like standing on midfield to see like the close action shots. It was just a very jarring experience. I don't know if that's the norm, but that's what popped out to me initially. But what are y'all making of Seattle in this one?
I don't have anything good to say about Seattle, man.
It's just their floor, which is undeniable, right? And that sucks.
Yeah,
not for them.
100% is their floor, but you're right. It's like where decent attackers go to die and sit behind Paul Rothrock. Nothing against Paul Rothrock. I actually thought he had a pretty nice game, and I thought Roldan had a very nice game as well too. It's just the striker situation needs to be figured out expeditiously because Danny Musovski, he's just not a very fun player to watch. And when
He's
you try to
cooled
see
off.
Roth, you say he has cooled off quite a bit because there was a time probably a month and a half ago where we were all saying Musovski was, I mean, I guess they found their solution and he's just not it anymore. I don't like Ferreira on the wing, but he can't play centrally or striker because he's been a failed experiment there as well. I think Rusnak's probably their best creator, and he had a pretty bad game. I didn't see the Rienzi red card. I guess I missed that. What happened there?
It was just a dumb challenge. Duds up.
Okay.
Or was it a second
And
yellow? Pretty sure it was a second
it
yellow.
looks like it was it was a second yellow. And then Nuhu's probably the player in the MLS who has aged the absolute worst over the last 3 years. I don't. He's hard to watch. Your bright sides. You're right now. If you're a Seattle fan, your bright sides are Jackson Reagan, Paul Rusnak, Obed Vargas, and Christian Roldan. Who?
Paul Rothrock.
Sorry, Albert Rusnak. My bad. My bad.
Albert
And yeah, I was looking at Paul Rothrock, and then I said Paul Rusnak. My bad. And then Christian Roldan, who said after the Club World Cup that he wishes he wasn't a lifer at Seattle because he is always going to wonder what's been or what could have been, and that at the age of 32, he's still open to a move to Europe, and maybe someone will take a chance on him. And that is the funniest storyline of this game, if there could be a funny storyline for this game.
Just a late a late trip abroad. Why not? For Roldan there. Let's talk about Columbus though, because
Wait. I wanted to see if anyone had like stuff to say about Seattle because I wanted them to get the broader strokes before I absolutely rip them to shreds.
all right.
Can I do that? Okay.
Let's do it. Yeah, go
So,
for it.
Let's get the positives out of the way. Stephen Fry is okay. He's posted on Instagram. That's really tough for them. I saw an article written by ESPN that said he was retiring at the end of the year. Stop letting AI write your articles, ESPN. You are a disgrace. But there's one other positive thing I'd like to speak from this, and that's the past 2 games Alex Roldan has played at center back, which I didn't think he had it in him. And it bugs me beyond belief that he's actually a pretty good center back. Given one of those was against Austin, and Austin, as we all know, are terrible. But in this game, he actually acquitted himself pretty well, made a couple of really major tackles. And I think that's pretty good, considering that they really had no one else that they could play at center back in this game besides Alex Roldan and Jackson Reagan. Okay, now let's get to where the good attackers start to go to die and lose minutes to Paul Rothrock. You've already touched on Ferreira. I'm not going to hammer it home. He did score last week against Austin. So, I mean, good for him, I guess. But let's talk about Ryan Kent.
Let's go. Because that was, yeah.
So,
let's do it.
Yeah, this is where I was going with this. Ryan Kent, who was supposed to be the savior and at one point looked like the best attacker on this team, hasn't had an assist since May 10th. That includes Club World Cup games, which of which the Sounders will hang moral victory banners at Lumen Field all the way up in the rafters, and fans will have to go squint when they look at them because just like, what are those? What, all the way up there? Oh yeah, we hosted 3 Club World Cup games and got moral victories in all of them. Good for you guys, Seattle. Awesome. Adrian's gonna put that money to such good use. Now, De La Vega's basically lost his starting spot. I think that's hilarious. He was supposed to be the DP. He doesn't do anything because Schmetzer doesn't let him do anything. Because when your entire team is predicated around creating all these quick combinations, getting to the byline, cutting it across, you might as well have Georgie Manungu in there, who, over the past 2 years, has been better than Pedro De La Vega. And he has one eye. So, the true story.
I love Georgie Manungu, bro. What a fucking
Yeah,
he's going to be a
he's-
streets will remember player, the only fun Seattle player right now.
He is. He's actually fun, and he still has one eye. Both things can be true, and he's better than Pedro de la Vega.
Three
So,
things can be true.
yeah. What does this have to do with how Seattle are going to line up over the next bit of the season? Because once again, in typical Sounders fashion, they have a pretty decent cushion. Right now they're in 5th place, and their upcoming schedule looks relatively manageable. At least their next 4 games before Leagues Cup starts, because they have to go to SKC, where Jansen Miller will have the entire attack in a body bag. They host Colorado. Then they host San Jose, who they actually don't have a pretty good record against over the past couple of seasons, and that was including some pretty bad San Jose teams. And then right before Leagues Cup, they go to Atlanta. We'll get to Atlanta later. So that's a pretty easy schedule before they have to face Cruz Azul, who knocked them out of CCL this year. And then they have to face Santos Laguna and Tijuana before they resume MLS play again. So, the way I'm thinking about this Seattle team is that they need to learn how to score goals again. Does a new number 9 really fix that? I don't think so. I've heard that they're being linked with a young, I believe he's from PSV's second team. His name is Noah Ohio. He's a striker. God, what a name. They've been linked with him. That if they sign him, it's probably going to be a U22 deal given his age. And for everyone who says, oh, the Sounders just need a striker, they just need a striker, like, Musovski actually fits their system pretty well for what they want to do, even though Morris, I think, is a little bit over the hill. He's also on a DP contract this year. I don't really know if a striker fixes it. It's just so much of it is due to the system that Schmetzer wants to play by being so indirectly direct that it just allows opposing teams to just crowd the box and snuff out any big chances that they have. And then the few open big chances that they do get are usually missed, unless for some reason Paul Rothrock is on the end of it. So yeah, that's Seattle. They get moral victories. They get Ryan Kent, who's not very good, Pedro de la Vega, who's not very good, and it's just turning into a, like, it just makes me want to claw my eyes out watching them, which just, it always does. They're just so boring, and they could be very good. I don't want them to be good, but they could be.
Don't look now, but Portland is ahead of Seattle in the standings. For as much as they try to, deregulate your power there on the power rankings, very, very powerful team in Portland. But beyond that, in Seattle, I want to shift kind of that Alex Roldan. I still need another game to see it because Columbus, they are without a striker. Rossi is not Cucho. They have tried. I think when Rossi came in first to replace Zelarayan, it was just a natural fit. Like, even if it was just kind of a bit of a shift in style, whereas Zelarayan probably collected the ball a bit further, a bit deeper and dribbled, whereas Rossi's more kind of can play and receive the ball higher up the field. Like, beyond that, like, slight detail in the attack, Rossi can't overtake a game as well as Cucho. Like, they were missing that next goal there, and Gazdag, man, what the hell, bro? What is going on? Like, I always kind of viewed, like, the Penzdag as like a very funny, like, slight on him, and now it's like kind of very much proven to be real here. Like, still no fucking goals for Columbus. What are we thinking on Columbus overall as they traveled across to the Pacific Northwest here?
I think Daniel Gazdag. I think when he went, I think we all thought he would be a natural fit and that he was going to thrive under Wilfred Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the reality of it is he was also just one of those players that benefited from a system that worked for him in Philly, like we're seeing with a lot of players in Philly right now. And it's kind of sad to see because he's been a fun player to watch these last 3 years. And it has been such a short window that I'm not ready to give up on him yet. But correct me if I'm wrong. When he moved over there, it was on a DP contract again, correct? When they did that cash deal?
I'm not sure on the details on that.
It was a cash deal.
It was a cash deal, but the contract he signed with Columbus, do we know if that was DP or not?
Let's see.
I believe he was still a DP because he was a DP in Philly.
Okay. So you got Rossi, who's not a real striker, playing striker. You have Russell Rowe, who's not a real striker, playing striker. You have Gazdag, who is supposed to be a false 9, playing a 10, and he's doing it not horribly, but he's not creating goals either. I don't really know how you fix. It's one of those things where it's like the system's not broken. Maybe the players they're slotting into it are, because they are creating chances. They're just not really putting them away. I think their midfield is still a strength, and that's helping them quite a bit. Because I mean, if you look at every single game they played, and you even look at this game, I mean, it's what they do. They hold possession, they create chances that way, and they limit opportunities from other teams. I just don't know how you get a guy like Daniel Gazdag more involved, because that's not the way he's played for the last 3 years at Philly. Philly's always kind of played like a Brexit ball counter use style, and now he's forced to play in possession, and it's not something he's done for 3 years now. It's not even something he does for Hungary, because they're just so outmatched when he goes over there that they're forced to also play a Brexit ball style. So maybe it's a I don't know. Part of me wants to think it's like just a bad fit stylistically for him, but he has all the help around him in the world. I mean, he has a great midfield backing him. He's got a great pairing of center backs. Like I really don't know what the problem is here with him, if I'm being honest with you. But I mean, it's not something I would completely worry about if I'm a Columbus fan. I mean, they're still a playoff team.
Yeah, but I mean, how far is this front three going to take you? You know?
I'm going to give Daniel Gazdag the benefit of the doubt here.
Boo.
I need to. We need. He's been tarnished enough with the Pens-Dag nickname that's followed him around the league ever since that fraudulent MVP run he had a couple of years ago. But this was really the first game in his time in Columbus where he's kind of actually played in his preferred position, I think. The Crew did something that they don't usually do and put 2 up top with Gazdag in as the number 10, like the true number 10 behind him, and he created the most chances in the game. So I'm not used to saying this about Columbus because I feel like they are probably the best run team in the league. But maybe it's literally like a square peg in a round hole, and that's Daniel Gazdag, in that they're trying to fit him into a position that he is not known for playing, and we are shocked that it's taking him a lot longer to take to that system than we might have expected him to. So that's my benefit of the doubt, that for the first time really since he joined Columbus, he actually played in his preferred position and he created the most chances in the game. So Wilfred Nancy, keep doing that or don't and keep winning. Either way, I give the benefit of the doubt.
All right, that's valid. It's just funny how we look at the top teams in the East. Last year, Columbus were that cream of the crop, dude. Like they were yeah, Miami was, there, but really it was Columbus who were kind of, showing out, and you just had to watch Cucho, and when he left, it was like, dang, like you could really see that impact of just them still being a really solid, top table side, but like that is, you lose that top of the table aura that they had, because they were piloting a lot of that before some bad results. Any other final thoughts on Seattle or Columbus before we go to the table and start from the bottom here? Cool. Let's go to Montreal, who are 29th in the Supporters Shield standings, 15th in the Eastern Conference. they it goes back to the morale, right? The beatings will continue unless morale improves. And even when morale has improved slightly, they did have some good wins recently. Even with that slight improvement, they come home and they just get steamrolled by Miami, who are coming off of Club World Cup and, big bounce back game for them. What I will say about Montreal is it's very telling where they're at when their wingers are fullbacks. Dante Seeley, former left back for Dallas, and Tom Pierce, left wing back, playing as a left winger. They had Caden Clark come into this one, and I don't know what you do at Montreal. No Vrioni, again, he's been injured. It feels like if they really wanted a underperforming DP, they could have just gone to Colorado, because then at least, at least Kevin Cabral would speak French and be a little bit more at ease there. Maybe that's the move they need, instead of Tom Pierce at left wing. But recently they sold Nathan Saliba to Anderlecht, and Victor Latorre has filled in, and I do quite like him in that role, because they were doing well without him, and they ran into Miami, and any team's gonna run into Miami, so I'm willing to kind of look past this one, but I can also just as easily shit on the fact that they have fullbacks for wingers. Does anyone have anything about Montreal? Oh, what I will say also is Miami rotated in their terrible South American center back, and Montreal did the same. They rotated in their terrible South American center back, Fernando Alvarez, who like when I saw both of those guys in the lineups, I knew it was going to be the over. You could have smashed the over and you would have been fine at 3-1, 2-1, 4-1. So I mean, what is there to say, man? Like, Alvarez is just not hit. George Campbell's still likely their best center back without Joel Waterman, who's been out. This team, it's not as fun anymore. I'm going to be honest. I was very, very much engaged with the project early on, but now I'm like, whatever. If y'all are last in the East, that's fine. I still want Atlanta to be last, but do y'all have any thoughts on Montreal before we move on to the next team here? Perfect. Let's go.
Meetings are continuing.
Yes, as they are for St. Louis City. We'll go to Joss, just on a general St. Louis update. What are you making of the of your rival team there?
Hold on, I'm getting a call from Canada real quick. Yeah, the beatings are going to continue down. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so they're transferring some of the beatings to Missouri also. And for the last 3 months, it seems like the beatings have gotten worse and worse. St. Louis have not won a game since I think it's been 4 months. They have one win in 4 months. So they've quietly sunken back down the table post Olaf. So maybe Olaf Melberg wasn't the problem. Maybe that city just cannot have good soccer or good things. And there's a tweet from a Sporting KC fan, so biased, but he said, we need to investigate the 2023 season when St. Louis won the West, because this does not look like the same team at all. I don't know what we would even possibly investigate, but I think that's really funny to imagine that somehow they tricked the entire league for an entire season. So St. Louis have not won since May 31st, so not looking great on that side of things. However, it was a very exciting game. A 3-2 win for RSL, who have quietly been moving back up the table in these last 3 games. 7 points from their last 3 is pretty decent, especially given they were Diego Luna-less, and he has now completed his Gold Cup adventure, will be coming back and slotting right into that lineup, preferably for a certain Scotsman, who I will not mention by name on this podcast.
He is a wanker!
Yeah, why is that? Why is that, Jeremy? Do you have any thoughts on why Johnny Russell might be a wanker?
I've heard that he thinks that he is very important to the history of sport in Kansas City, even though he did not win a trophy there. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, I've heard that he said he didn't want to leave the club. But then they forced him out, even though he was pretty bad his last few months here. So he took to Instagram DMs with a friend of mine to really show off how he felt about being called a wanker. And it's really funny because he's a 37-year-old man drunk DMing a 24-year-old, almost like it's an inappropriate age gap, I think, to be DMing any 24-year-old that's a 37-year-old, but especially when you're saying things like "Stop calling me a wanker, have some fucking respect."
But Joss, shouldn't he not be a wanker? I mean, after all, he was an SKC player, but he did sign for Real Salt Lake. Is there a rivalry between those two teams that I'm not aware of?
Oh my gosh, there is. Now people can say, "Oh, he's just doing what he wants to for his career," and that may be true. However,
Mostly true.
we don't say that good soldiers following orders is really an acceptable excuse.
Man.
That's just my 2 cents. Shout out also for this game. Back to this game, and also a little bit of Sporting KC's game against RSL. I really think that Gozo is a fantastic little player. 18 years old, and he's getting some quality minutes in this RSL side as the number 10. So I hope when Luna comes in, they do not drop Gozo. I hope it is actually Johnny Russell, not even from like an agenda standpoint. Just like I really think Gozo's got a high ceiling right now, and it'd be fun to watch him and Luna a little more. And then Diogo Gonçalves was player of the match, and he did a little Diogo celebration. Oh, you cannot boo the guy who did a Diogo Jota tribute. We can't have that.
I forgot about that. To be fair, because I was gonna say if anyone should be dropped, it's him. But I mean, he scored a goal, so I won't.
Yeah,
won't be too much of a hater.
That's okay. You can start hating next week.
But he doesn't score again.
Yeah, quick little shout out, because that's gonna be tough playing in a game after a guy that you played with it on various Portuguese youth national teams dies. So shout out for going out there and getting the goal. Yeah.
Any other thoughts on St. Louis? I mean, we started talking about RSL. What I will say about RSL too is the sooner their back line is figured out, they've had Sam Junquo going in there, the better. Pablo Ruiz back in holding midfield for RSL. There was a time when he got injured playing as a 10, so I'm glad that Mascherini's not playing him as a 10. I do like Pablo Ruiz as a holding midfielder. But him and I know Anelli is still a ways away, but I think that is a very strong center mid pairing in the league. To quickly touch on St. Louis, they have not had Henry Kessler or Timo Baumgartel start a game together in Lord knows how long. They've definitely not had back-to-back games because this defense was Josh Yarrow and Jake Girdwood Reich. So this guy's definitely following orders when he's being told to play at the center back position next to Josh Yarrow, because it is bad. It is so bad. Any other thoughts on these two teams? I don't mind pairing them together and moving on if anyone else has got anything to say about either team.
I have one St. Louis and one one RSL thought. The St. Louis thought, João Klaus has 5 goals in his last 4 games. Good for him. That's objective. I'm not being sarcastic. That's just pretty good. I'm glad that at least like one of their players is finding a way to still be successful in the absolute trash fire that is St. Louis soccer. My RSL point, I'd like to offer my condolences to Noel Caliscan, who should win goal of the week, but we all know that he won't. So, that was an unbelievable goal. It was
His
very
first.
happy. Yeah, it converted fullbacks just having absolute worldies to announce themselves that were both draft picked by the Timbers. We'll get to the other one later, but a pretty good weekend for them. But yeah, congratulations to Noel Caliscan. That was pretty nice. I enjoyed watching that.
Let's head over to Atlanta and DC. Both of them right on top of each other in the standings. So we'll get them out the way so that we don't bore the listeners with this one. But I managed to give Jeremey this game, and I probably should have given it to Joss in retrospect to keep with the 0-0 theme. But for once, maybe not for once, but Jeremey got the end of this, and I did catch some of the end of the game live before having to watch the recap because I was not going to watch this one again. I got all I needed in the last 10 minutes. Jeremey, tell us about this 0-0.
For those who don't know, when we're preparing for each show that we do each week, Juanners, as the preeminent host here, puts together a spreadsheet of every single game and assigns them to either the entire pod or an individual person. I was only assigned 2 games this week. One of them was this DC Atlanta game. And the day that this list came out, I sent a message in the Discord channel, and I said, DC Atlanta, what did I do to deserve this? Guys, we don't need to speculate on the game of the year in this league anymore because this was it. This was it. And here's why. Atlanta United has cemented themselves as the biggest bust in MLS history. That's it. That's literally it. There will never be a more apt showing of how bad this Atlanta United team is when they were able to field, and I count, 5 DPs in this team.
5 DPs.
5
That's against
DPs.
the rules.
But is it? Because Saba Lobjanice used to be a DP. He was signed as a DP for this team. Emmanuel Latte Lath, who provided the biggest moment of this game by missing a golden chance in the 51st minute right out of halftime. He's a DP. Alexei Moranchuk is a DP. Miguel Almiron, why is he here? He's a DP. And Mateus Click is a DP for, you'll never guess, DC United.
Peak MLS. This is why I gave you this match.
Got traded to Atlanta, where he's playing for them as Atlanta's nominal 5th DP. Those 5 DPs combined for 6 shots. 1 on target, 0.63 XG. He did not win the XG battle in this game, guys. Can't believe it.
Oh my god. All these stars, though. All these stars. I'm tripping over
These
all the
stars.
stars.
The one who showed Brandis was Brad Guzan, who's 40 years old and should be gone from this team.
Bro, that's what they get for not starting Josh Cohen last year. Because now he's been injured. So, I mean, even if they wanted a new goalie, they can't. You're forced to always wake up with Brad Guzan as a starter. for all of Atlanta's history. Oh my God.
It's absolutely nothing worth watching on this Atlanta team because a Johnny Fortune is out for the rest of the season. Guys, this I feel like my words and my own there are tears coming out of my eyes right now. I cannot believe what has happened to the proud institution of Atlanta United, because usually they miss on one DP a year. That's been their MO since Almiron was first sold to Newcastle. It used to be they only had the opportunity to fail on one. Now they have 3 failed DPs combined with the 2 players who used to be DPs. You have to hand it to them. I hope they win the spoon.
3 strikes and you're out. What about DC, though? Because I don't think DC could get off the hook much. They have Benteke back in the team. They have Peglo in the team. No Pirani, who maybe I will say that when Pirani's on the field alone without Benteke, the team is a bit better. But, man, like, even with Benteke, like, nothing about this DC team is, like, I never really thought DC were ever going to win, even with all the ball they had. You know what I mean? Like at home too.
Yep. But that's the problem. Like, DC came into this year bad. They were lucky to scrape a playoff spot last year, and they didn't really make any significant improvements to the team besides Peglo.
No, wait, they missed the playoffs last year.
They missed. Shit.
Yeah, because the Golden Boot
Montreal made in their place.
The Golden Boot winner missed the playoffs. That was the big thing on them.
Yeah, that's right. He couldn't carry them. I thought, my God, my brain is so cooked. But you know whose brain isn't cooked is David Schnagg, who I thought was pretty good in this one. It's just like, where are they missing their investment besides everywhere? That's the story with DC. Like, can you even pick one spot that they desperately need to upgrade? No, you can pick all of them. So, yeah, I don't know how Troy Lesesne recovers from this. Yeah, I don't know how he does. It was interesting to watch him as an interim coach because he was for the Red Bulls, and you're interim head coach of the Red Bulls. Everyone's like, oh, you're gonna press high, and then you go to DC and you have some of those players, but what they're really missing is just those I think they're missing Christian Fletcher more than they'd like to let on. He's actually pretty fun. He's been hurt. And at this point, just give Jose Kojima all the minutes that you can at any position where he is needed, which, as I said, is all of them. Yeah. That's a lot of words on a game that didn't really need that many, I'm going to shut up now.
It's all good. All for that epic rant on ATL. 5 DPs, count them, 5 DPs. We talked about Dallas, talked about Salt Lake, talked about SKC. Let's go over. What was that?
5 DPs and 0 hope.
We need a 5-0 Atlanta loss, and that'll be the.
Oh my God! Please, it should have been this game.
No, but then it's DC. You don't want DC to do that.
I thought, Jeremy. Before we move on, sorry. Earlier we were talking about it. I think maybe it was the Seattle Columbus game. Jeremy said something like, and we'll talk about Atlanta later, and he said it like it was a punishment. Like it was a
It was.
Like it was a
punishment for me to have to watch that and to talk about that.
It just made me laugh.
No more Atlanta games for Jeremy.
Rehab for Jeremy. What's the outside the box healthcare plan looking like?
It's just an MLS jersey. your rival's jersey.
No.
Like, you think it's gonna be something cool, like you get the package from MLS and then you open it, it's RSL.
Oh,
exactly. Let's talk about New England though, because they went to Portland without Ignatius Ganago, who is being renewed for the end of the year. I'm still not sold on him, as I was very vehemently against him. Are we? I know he didn't play, but are we still on the Ganago train when it comes to New England?
Yes, because he's fun.
Okay, Daniel, I had you on this one. I don't know how I got you and Jeremy mixed up. I wanted to give you more New England, and less so Jeremy missing out on talking about the Timbers. We'll circle back to the Timbers later, but what'd you make of New England, who were I'm pretty sure was Chancalay on the bench for this one? Because he didn't start, but
Chancalay was on the bench. This was the
He
seventh
was hurt.
different striker pairing that they've had since they've had the 3-5-2. And I feel like that inconsistency continues to show because there really is no like partnership. I actually thought Langoni played a pretty nice game. I think Campagna is the king of setting himself up to create chances and then not finishing those chances. And I mean, I watched back the game this morning. It happened like 4 or 5 times. It's kind of hard to watch, but I feel like that's not all his fault. But at the same time, he gets paid a lot of money to finish his chances, so finish your chances.
I don't know. People forget he was pretty mid on Miami. And by mid, I mean bad.
He was bad at Miami, yeah. I mean, there's a reason why Higuain started over him, and then they were in such a rush to sign 37-year-old Luis Suarez at the time with no knees, but outside of he's Messi's boy, but it's because Campagna couldn't really cut it. But I was kind of hoping that if he was given that starting role, he would be somebody who could take more advantage of it, and he didn't in the slightest, and he hasn't since he's been there. And that really showed against Portland because they did have chances against Portland. And Portland played a really nice game. I think my biggest pet peeve this entire game, and I watched it back like 5 times, and we'll talk about this when we get to Portland, but there was a goal that DaCosta scored where he had like a legitimate like 12 seconds to make up his mind what he wanted to do with that ball at the top of the box. And it's just like, what are we doing here? Like, this team has been so hot and cold all season. They're on the edge of the bubble to be a playoff team. Like, they're only a couple points back. This is a game they need to get a result out of, and it's kind of just like mistakes like that can't happen. They're missing Feingold, which sucks. I think he's actually a really good player, and he helps create, and he swings and crosses for a guy like Campagna, or I don't know, I guess Langoni, who isn't really that kind of player, but like I said, he did a pretty nice game. But all in all, not really a whole lot to write home about New England. I just wish they were a little bit more consistent, because when you play a team who is incredibly consistent like Portland, it shows.
Any other New England thoughts, or we want to move on to the next team here?
I can hop in on New England for a little bit. More specifically, a couple Campana thoughts. I'd like to congratulate MLS on having their very own Darwin Nunez. That's always fun. But some people love Darwin Nunez. Some people hate him. Everyone wonders why he was worth that much for a transfer fee. That's Darwin Nunez. Welcome back, Leo Campana. You are Darwin Nunez. The other thing I'm gonna make about New England is just how insane Carlos Gil is. Like, Caleb Porter has been blessed by being able to walk into this New England team, which, has had a pretty bad roster his first year. They've gotten a little bit better, but the one thing Caleb Porter needs more than anything is just a dynamite number 10. And he's had that in all of his previous MLS stops. He had it in Portland with Diego Valeri. He had it in Columbus with Zelo Rayon. Now he has Carlos Hill, who Phil Neville before this game called the most consistent DP in the 2020s. It's kind of hard to disagree with that. Considering
Carlos Gill.
He is outstanding. Unbelievable. And then I'd also like to shout out once again Brian Ceballos and Mamadou Fofana, who are still really good center backs. And they made life really hard for a 20-year-old Venezuelan named Kevin Kelsey during this game. All right. Are we talking about Portland now?
No,
No, we'll save that for the end.
we'll get back to them because I did realize I did skip an OTB match in Houston Dynamo and San Diego FC. Very likely the game of the match day for sure. For different reasons, I really wanted. At first, I had myself written on this one because I really wanted to talk about Houston, but then I saw San Diego was on the other side, so I was like, well, of course I gotta get the rest of the homies to get their San Diego takes here because I'm sure we've been seeing Milan Ilaski just fucking going crazy, right? Like I'm not the only one that's just noticed this guy just come back to the United States from Nordjylland and just go insane. Like has anyone
You're
else?
not the only one.
Okay, cool. Because he is he used to be with RSL in their academy system before moving on, and so I think it's just crazy how goes back to scouting, dude. I think if in MLS, if you were to give me either a very competent scouting team or a purse string, like a large purse string, like millions of dollars in transfers, I'm like, give me the scouting, like the competent scouting team every time, because it's going to show that like these transfer fees don't mean anything if you don't get, the right guys in. And Milan Ilaski, if it's not him, it's fucking Alex Mighton, who is also being very productive. Not as lethal in front of net, but just as good. This is without Marcus Invertson, Thomas Angel, who is more of a at this point, if we're going with the California, throwbacks, he's kind of more of an Aaron Gordon, late stoppage time winner merchant now.
Alan.
Oh, I said Aaron. Fuck, Alan Gordon. My bad.
Paul Rusnak and Aaron Gordon in the same episode.
We are a
This is
professional
great
podcast.
radio.
We are a national MLS podcast.
Alan Gordon. I almost said Steven Lenhart to go all the way back to the Basham brothers. Sorry, I just had to pull my stripes there a little bit. I'm sorry. It's just crazy. I mean, and this is without also Lozano, who is fine to just drop, I thought you wouldn't be able to live without him. And there were so many spells and even when he comes back into the team, he still earns a spot by like chasing down balls and playing for everything. Like Mikey Veras has done really well with this team. Does anyone else want to talk on San Diego? Because I mean, they did lose here. There's a lot of praise coming around, but it's only just because of their recency. But I have a lot more to say about Houston than I do San Diego. But kind of interested to see the fellas' takes on San Diego so far.
I'm intrigued. Is Dreyer still the leading MVP candidate for you guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, is it just his numbers? Is it the fact that he's doing it in an expansion team? Is it a combination of the things? Like how many accolades can we really see going San Diego's way come the end of the season? Let's say that they come in top 2 in the West. Do you give MVP? Do you give Coach of the Year? Do you give like midfielder of the year, defender of the year, all those things? Does San Diego do a clean sweep?
I don't know about clean sweep because I think Coach of the Year for me is still Sorensen. The thing for Dreyer for me is the fact that he's been in every match. You know what I mean? And I wonder what this team looks like if you do have a match with maybe Mighton in his spot. Like, I wonder what a Mighton, Ilaski, and Lozano front three look like. Because it's not. I don't think Dreyer's missed many time. Like, I think just his like consistency is really what's the driving force here. I know Evander's probably on the other side of that as well. Of like, well, he's also been very consistent. Messi is always going to have that. That like looming like I feel like we're talking about all these players and it's very cool, but then like Messi's in the back, just like polishing his shoes or whatever the fuck he's doing. But I think this year it's going to be tough. In prior years, it always felt like there was a clear winner, a clear person at the top of it. I don't know if there's anyone on Nashville. I mean, if we're getting into some light MVP talks, I don't mind. I mean, it'd probably be Evander on Nashville. Are we thinking Surridge, Mukhtar? I mean, Surridge's Golden Boot pace, but what do you guys think? I think just Dryer's consistency is what's gotten them there.
To quickly go on the Nashville argument, you're going to have a 2015 situation in Nashville where two very good players on a very good team are going to steal votes from each other.
Oh, good point.
Daniel?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the thing I love the most about Anders Dreyer is the fact that he's doing it being limited to one side of the field. Because if you think of like Ferreira, he can do everything, pretty much moves freely in the attacking third as he wants. Surridge, striker, so he gets everything in front of him. Messi walks around and then eventually pokes his way, like he like teleports to different parts of the field. He just walks around, and next thing you know, he's somewhere in a scoring position. Ojeda, Pep Biel, Hanny, Ty Baribo, Dejan Yoba. I just named.
He threw Pep Biel in there.
I did. And listen. Here's why. There's a reason for everything I do. Here's why. I just named 9 of the top 10 goals and assist leaders in the MLS, and all are people that have the ability to pretty much float around wherever they want on the field. And there's Anders Dreyer sitting at 13 goals, 9 assists, 3 ahead of Evander, playing with being limited to one side of the field. And I think that's just a testament to how good of a player he actually is. Yes, I threw in Pep Biel. Leave me alone.
Like how much impact he's having from such a limited area.
100%.
I feel that. I do like that argument a lot, Daniel. I think Anders Dreyer, he has a benefit given that he is sort of flavor of the month. He's new to the league, new to the league in a new team, which helps his case even more. But I do feel like there tends to be a bit of a bias towards players who are new to the league and who come in and perform really well. Because of that, I think that maybe it was like we know what to expect from Messi. We know what to expect from player like Evander. We knew what to expect from all these guys. But then Anders Dreyer comes in, kind of an unknown, kind of a question mark, unless you're Juanners and you're a sicko and you love watching the Belgian Pro League. And you've got, I think, because of the flavor of the month, he's got a leg up over a lot of the other vote receivers, I think.
That's valid. Who was your MVP last year, Josh? Just to quickly ask.
Let me think. I got to think back to last year. I think I might have been on the Evander train. I don't think I wanted to see Messi.
Yeah, I was on the Evander train as well.
Yeah, I think I was on the Evander train also. But like Lucho, I would have been fine with him getting it.
That's valid.
2 years in a row. But yeah, I love the flavor of the month. I really do think will be a massive benefit to Anders Dreyer.
Now I want to pivot. Any other San Diego bits here, because I have a lot to say about Houston. Because initially Houston were like bad, and then all of a sudden they stopped playing Sebastian Kowalczyk. It's funny how that happens. But instead of Kowalczyk, 1 week they played Dwayne Holmes, who I thought was really good, and at that point I said, okay, this team is actually going to be fine without McGlynn, if Holmes is going to be in there, right? He's not too bad. And then recently, the return of Lawrence Anali, who I know a Jeremey here has been kind of slowly hinting at throughout the season, in terms of Houston's floor, right? All of a sudden, Houston have 2 very good wingers, and they have a guy in Andrej Linger. They have Ezequiel Ponce, who is starting to find some form. That he's getting some real chance creators behind him. And now they're just waiting for Jack McGlynn to come back into the squad and fully unlock it. I think Houston are going to have just a crazy bounce back in the standings from now until the end. They're going to give the Rapids, they're going to have SKC a real hard time between now and the playoffs. And I'm very excited to just see how they pull it off, because, I mean, I've always been kind of a Ben Olsen denier, because when Brendan Burke, his assistant coach, was on the team, I thought he was kind of, it wasn't necessarily half coach, but a lot of Brendan Burke's like tactics from Colorado Springs switchbacks were seen in the Houston Dynamo. Like, I saw that influence last season or 2 seasons ago, and since then, I think, you know, like Olsen has rid himself a lot of the DCU stink. I think it's very fair to say that, especially after winning a trophy, right? So yeah. I'm willing to give Olsen just like, figure it out, homie. You know what I mean? Like let's see what you can cook up. What's his name? Felipe Andrade is a very fun fullback. Femi Awodesu has been progressing very well. Zviatchenko has been in and out of the lineup, but Pablo Ortiz is looking like that Michael replacement, right? And so all of a sudden, Houston have just clicked. It's insane. They still got to do it on you know, and then this was a big win for them on the road, 4-1 in a not 4-1, 4-3 in a dramatic game in a highly suggest everyone go watch this one, because it was Houston at their best without their best, if that makes sense. Any other thoughts on Houston before we move on here?
If you don't have the time to watch the 4-3 game, but you do have, for some reason, 30 seconds, watch the Anali goal to tie it at one. Because holy dude, the straight line speed he showed there, oh my god!
Coming off a knee injury as well.
Yep. Putting that much force onto his knee, and he's got to be thinking at that moment, he's like, God, I'm doing a lot here, but they got some powerful. I don't know, man. The power of modern sports medicine is kind of amazing, because he absolutely. I mean, the center back for San Diego probably has, like, what, you think, 10, 15 yards on him?
Yeah, no, I mean, he fucking blitzed, bro.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. He is a fun player. Yeah. He is as advertised, for sure.
I think Houston do have a good like core. Like one of the best cores among the lower teams in the West, to really build a platform off of and maybe make a run at the playoffs.
Oh my God.
Here's the thing that I have with Houston, because although you can't deny they're a lot better than what they were at the start of the season. The start of the season is when the easiest part of their schedule was. Now they have 4 games left before League's Cup. They go to RSL this next weekend. Then they host Vancouver and Philadelphia in the same week. And then they host the Galaxy. That's 3 out of 4 at home. After League's Cup ends, 4 out of their next 5 are on the road. They have to go to Austin. They have to go to Vancouver. They have to go to St. Louis. They have to go to Colorado. That Colorado game is like circled and has 10 different arrows pointed to it. So then they have, then in their final 4, they have 2 more road games. They have Nashville and they have SKC. So even though the opponents don't look too tough, that's a lot of time to be spent away on the road. But if this game is any indicator, they could be just as fearsome of a road team as they are as a home team. And they haven't been that good at home this year. They're 4-1-6. They actually have a better goal differential on the road. They have an even goal differential in road games than they do at home. They're -5 at home. But now they're getting everyone back. It seems like they're the team that's most set for a run, kind of in the same way that they were 2 years ago when they ended up winning the Cup and made the Western Conference Final. I don't know that they are probably the team to watch over the closing months of the season just to see how high they can potentially climb.
Yeah.
It's gonna be an interesting one. I still think they're gonna be the team to beat towards the end of the season there for a playoff spot. But let's head to Daniel for his team, Charlotte.
Let's go.
Who in the group chat we were talking a bit about Charlotte, and you were kind of a little bit upset here, or not upset, but I mean, kind of contemplating what this team looks like without Ajimang, who is probably is he set to leave? Is that official?
I don't believe it's finalized, but I think they're working out the final details. $8 million plus 2 and a transfer clause if he ends up leaving Derby. So I honestly think that's amazing business by Charlotte if it actually ends up coming to fruition. And honestly, kudos to them because that's the first big outbound transfer they will have had as a club, which is kind of a big milestone. Honestly, going into this game, you would look at a 2-2 draw like it was a win, considering your last win was against Toronto 5 weeks ago. And since then, you've lost to Philly. Good team. I guess that is what it is. Sporting Kansas City.
Wait, what happened in that game?
Hold on. Shut the fuck up. Look, at the time, losing to Sporting Kansas City, that one kind of hurt, but I've actually kind of come around in Sporting Kansas City, so like it is what it is. And then you lose to Chicago, where it's another one where it's like, okay, that one kind of hurts, but they're better than their table standing lets off, so that kind of is what it is. And you look at it, okay, Orlando's a very good team. You look at it like, okay, a 2-2 or a 2-2 draw, that's a good result. But then when you actually watch the game, it's like, holy shit, they just kind of almost gave this entire game away. They were up 2-0 off of a Escardina assist to Pep Bill, which was honestly a great assist and a great goal by Pep Bill. Amazing goal, yeah. And then Bill Tuoloma comes out of fucking nowhere in his 500K gam, and finally scores a damn goal for us, or does something after not playing all season outside of the Open Cup where he had a massive stinker. So honestly, this lineup, not the strongest. I mean, we missed Albada. We don't have Zaha out there. We played Diani, who is another testament that you could be ass in Europe, come over to the MLS and still be ass. And then Marshall Ruddy, honestly, I like the addition of Marshall Ruddy, and I really like what Scardina's done. Yeah, so I mean, you take the good with the bad with a 2-2 draw against a really, really good Orlando side. I'd say the biggest downside of this is going into the summer transfer window, we need a striker. We need another center back.
Taklamati.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great second striker, but I have watched him I watched Gorno miss one too many opportunities these last 3 weeks for me to think that he's actually a long-term solution without having someone playing in front of him to learn from.
Oh, he's going to learn from the veteran Ajimang, who's got just raw natural ability?
Man, don't even get me started on Patrick Ajimang. We're just happy we're getting rid of him for $10 million. All right? Because what a come up that is. Super draft pick to $10 million, and the MLS only gets to keep 5% of that. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, my biggest drawback here is we're still on a skid of one win in 7 games. And you look at the rest of the East around you when you kind of solidified yourself as kind of like a mid-table East team, and you say, holy shit, this conference there's no wins anymore in the East unless you're playing Toronto or Montreal. So
Atlanta, don't forget Atlanta and DC.
But Atlanta shows up against Charlotte, and we've already lost to DC. So
well, there you go.
That's right.
So, I mean, you look at the Charlotte team and you just think, God, we are going to. I think I say it every week. I think this is a playoff team. I think we all think this is a playoff team, but it's coming down to the fucking wire, boys, and I'm getting nervous. And I have a bet with somebody on social media that we were going to place top 3 in the fucking East, and if not, I had to buy him a kit. And I'm going to end up buying that motherfucker a kit. I've already come to terms with that, but we are coming down to the wire, and it's
14
getting scary.
points out. 14 points out of third. You got this.
But don't give me hope, Juanners, because we make the playoffs. All we need is a little bit of hope, and hope is dangerous. It's a hell of a drug.
I can't wait till outside the box playoff edition. That's gonna be cinema. Absolute
The
cinema.
guy that Daniel has the bet with is an RSL fan as well, Juan. So
Oh
it's a little
man,
extra motivation for you.
now you really gotta get top 3.
Red
Yeah.
City.
Just hope that like we fill this striker position with like some like out of nowhere. How the fuck did they get him signing? And we could be back in it.
Enzo Capetti.
Don't do that.
Those parameters.
But here's the problem with places like Charlotte is Marco Royce turned down a DP contract at Charlotte because he didn't know where the fuck it was on a map.
Yeah.
So like, who the hell are we gonna get outside of like some championship striker? Last year on the big board, I just watched the Charlotte FC transfer episode of Onside Major League Soccer on Apple TV, and they had Josh Sargent on the big board, and part of me is like, you know what? I'm not a Josh Sargent fan, but I could get behind Josh Sargent right now.
Why does it feel like he could end up at Charlotte? That is just such a Josh Sargent ass team.
Yeah.
Because Charlotte are the Norwich of MLS.
Don't.
There
do
you
that.
go. There you go.
Dean Smith.
I saw someone say, who was the striker for Everton like 4 years ago? Calvert-Lewin. Someone said Calvert-Lewin, and I was like, you know what? That's actually not like he's a horrible player, and I hated watching him when he was in the Prem, and he was never really been that good for Everton, but he understands Dean ball and he knows how they want to play. So like, if you can get him on the cheap, then it wouldn't hurt. But at that point, honestly, you might as well just stick with Tokomati as well.
He is a free agent.
Gorno.
Is so.
You said Calvert-Lewin's a free agent?
He is, yeah.
I wonder if he wants to come as a Max Tam player. Hell yeah.
I think a couple things about Charlotte. Three things. First of all, replacing Adjamang with Josh Sargent would be like, dude, Charlotte would be in the crosshairs of all USMNT accounts for the rest of time. And I just want you to imagine you have to buy Twitter Blue then, Daniel, because you will get so much revenue off of your tweets just off your Charlotte tweets, which I know you said don't do well, but you put that in the mix, infinite money glitch.
Yeah, didn't you want to Americanize the sport? Isn't Josh Sargent Americanizing the sport?
Yeah, but he's like I don't know, something about gingers. They're not really American. They're just Irish who want to be Americans.
Jesus.
Back to you, Josh. What were you saying?
I think we'll let that stew a little bit, but also the Adjamang move is actually great. It is great for Charlotte because players are going to see that as, okay, Charlotte's a team that are willing to let us move on to bigger and better. I mean, Derby County's not bigger and better, but you know what I mean? Like from a professional perspective, it is seen as a step up right now. And so that's a great for Charlotte because that gives them a boost up in the transfer world. And that's already huge, especially for a club that's so new. And then thirdly, I'm a Pep Biel believer, just like you, Daniel. This Pep Biel guy, he with his goal last game, he becomes the fastest player in Charlotte's history to reach 20 goal contributions. So that's huge. And it took him 8 games less than Karol Swiderski did, who he was the previous record holder. So really good for him. Also, he's only behind Messi, Evander, and Anders Dreyer, who we've all mentioned in our MVP shouts as the players with the most non-penalty goal contributions. Biel has 16, Messi has 18, Evander 19, and Anders Dreyer 20. So huge movement for Pep Biel. I think that he's just become such a tidy little player for Charlotte. And for me, he is the face of that team, I think, right now.
I have one more thought if no one else has any Charlotte FC thoughts, and it is Derby County giveth and it taketh away. It gave us Camille Josviak, and it taketh Patrick Adjumane.
That's not really giving you much, buddy. I'm sorry. You gave a whole lot more in the return trade there. Let's talk about next ahead of Charlotte in the standings is San Jose Earthquakes. Another match where Bruce goes down a man. This one was a rough tackle by DeJuan Jones, but finally kind of this one I was very disappointed in this match. I thought San Jose were really going to pop off because I think this is probably the first time we've seen their full strength lineup, and that red card came in the 64th minute, and you know the only reason they got that goal was a Mohamed Sofo own goal, but it made me mad because I had Christian Espinoza to assist, and he practically gets the assist, really, but it just so happened to hit Mo Sofo on the way in, and God, that really bummed me out. But beyond that, like after that red card, like I was expecting like more from San Jose because they're usually that team that goes down. They can't keep going down, and I know they're navigating the games well, and they're getting points out of them, but I still would prefer San Jose to play with 11 men. I don't want to see them keep proving that they can handle 10 men. Like, Bruce, you don't got to handicap yourself every time. I mean, it helps when your players aren't going into reckless challenges, but San Jose kind of cooling off a little bit. I don't know how you all are feeling about that. Any San Jose thoughts, opinions?
You think about San Jose the last 3 years, it's just amazing where they are right now, honestly. Cooling off, heating up, doesn't matter. They're 15th on the Shield table. Never thought I'd see that in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere they're on pace to have one of their best finishes since 2005 or 2015, maybe. Either 2005 or 2015. But either way, it's been a long
five. That would be crazy, right?
Well,
that would be so sad.
I don't know.
20 years.
Like their best regular season finish?
Really? Do you think so?
It might have been 2015. I may have been getting an additional one there or not, but maybe I'll correct it. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just keep spreading this information.
I think it's
hell yeah.
They're good. They're good for sure.
Like to you, I was just saying like that's so surprising to me.
Yeah, I think it's 2015 to be honest, but I'll just have the viewer. You have to be diligent and find that stat yourself. But beyond that, let's talk about Chicago. Josh.
Well, hold on. San Jose also, they sent Hernan Lopez out on loan. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yes,
I did see that.
Yeah, same club that actually also signed Claudio Bravo from the Timbers.
Look at that.
Yeah,
this man doing
Argentina's junior's been busy.
They're going MLS, bro. They visited, and were like, yeah, let's take all the Argentines.
They're doing their shopping down Highway 1 or something, dude. I guess they just took that beautiful ass road trip and were like, yeah, we'll pick up a couple of guys on our way back.
Pedro de la Vega
feels like a
for the
head
hat
scratcher,
trick.
node. He feels like a head scratcher though, doesn't he?
Hernan Lopez?
Yeah. Like,
I mean,
not that he's leaving, just that he never worked out in the MLS. I thought he was a talent when he came here.
He was supposed to be the guy. Honestly, I think.
I wouldn't mind him on the Rapids.
No, I mean 9 goals, 3 assists in 30 games last year. That's decent, but only 7 games so far this year. So,
yeah, so I guess he was injury as well.
Yeah, he was never really like, I guess, supreme in his goal and assist tallies, but a serviceable little player. So I'm just, yeah. I mean, Bruce Arena, he's making the roster he wants to make, and that's a dangerous game.
He wasn't New England enough for him.
Yeah, true. He asked him what clam chowder was, and Hernan had no response, so we sent him on loan.
Staying with you, Joss. Tell us about Chicago.
Tell us about Chicago. Well, first of all, Greg Berhalter, our guy, he got to watch his son, and I guess I almost said friend of the channel, but that's not true. We're all massive fans of Sebastian Berhalter. So he got to watch his son play at the Gold Cup, which is just pretty cool, I think. That has to be a pretty cool experience for the Berhalter family as well. But Chicago went to Cincinnati, who are really good again. I mean, like they've always been good, but like they're really, really good. And they come off, they lose 2-1 as, the big major signings for Cincinnati, Evander and Denke both show up. Denke, by the way, I got to check this. I want to make sure I get this right, but he is like, I don't know if I want to say quietly having like a great goal scoring season, but 12 goals in 20 matches, and he's not an all-star. Kind of crazy. Dejan Joveljic, 12 goals, not an all-star. Sam Surridge, not an all-star, but Brandon Vasquez is an all-star. It just feels disappointing. It just feels sad. It just makes me sad. But we're talking about Chicago. So with Chicago, they show up in Cincinnati and they come off 2-1 losers. And I think it's more so like they weren't bad. It's just Cincinnati are a really, really strong team. And if you're Chicago and your guys like Hugo Kuipers, if he's not getting on the score sheet, if Jonathan Bomba's not providing an assist or Brian Gutierrez isn't doing what he needs to be doing, then it's kind of hard for Chicago to really walk into a place like Cincinnati and leave with anything, even a draw or a win. So with Chicago, they're still 9th in the East, and I don't think that's too terrible for them. For them at this point in the season, they can still really make a push for the playoffs, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do. In fact, their last 8 losses for Chicago have come against the top 4 in the East. So with that being said, like they lose to the good teams, but they beat the teams around them and the teams that they need to beat that are competing for those playoff spots. So I think Chicago should be fine because of this pattern. But once you get into playoffs, you're going to have to beat the teams that are better than you to have any hope of making a splash. So that's when it'll be concerning, I think. But Chris Brady's coming back. I know there's some mixed opinions on Chris Brady on this channel, but guy got 0 minutes at the Gold Cup. Hopefully, maybe he comes back and this defense will be able to sort of rally around him and grind out games like this. But yeah, for Chicago, I don't think there's anything really you can write with this loss. It's just a matter of losing to a team that recruits well and is one of the best run teams in the league.
Do you want to stick with Cincinnati? Cover them
I
up
can do
as well?
Yeah.
Tell us about Cincinnati.
No Chicago thoughts? Okay.
No Chicago.
So,
thoughts.
yeah. With Cincinnati, they are now top of the Shield standings. I think that's correct, right?
Yes. 42
Yes.
points.
That is correct.
Yeah. Cincinnati are now top of the Shield standings, and I feel like it's kind of been would you guys agree it's kind of been a quiet rise to the top of the Shield standings? I mean, is it quiet because Cincinnati maybe, like, despite the fact that they were winning games and getting points, they haven't been doing it in the style that we're used to, in that sort of flashy style that we're used to? Or is it more of like, hey, it's Cincinnati, we're always going to expect them to be at the top? Because for me, I wasn't like, when I saw that they were top of the Shield, I was actually kind of caught off guard by that, because wow, so really surprising given how little we've heard about them, I think. But yeah, they just recruit well. The Cincinnati team recruits well and it's built well. And that's something that a lot of I think owners across the league are really they need to learn about, because this is a great model to follow, especially for a team that not too long ago was one of the basement dwellers, a team that wasn't really seen as like a model for anything, and now they are the standout. So couple of things to talk about here. First of all, Evander, great finish, great goal. MVP. He's got an MVP caliber season already. Like it's just crazy to think that he's performing so well still. I think like being a part of such a blockbuster trade, there's going to be a lot of emphasis and a lot of pressure weighing down on you, but he's taken to it so well in Cincinnati, and it's been really, been really fun to see. Also, I keep forgetting that Kai Kamara is there now. Like that's just awesome to see every time I pull up the Cincinnati lineup. He started this game, didn't get a goal or an assist, but did get a yellow card, and that's awesome. Thank you, Kai Kamara. Continue your conquest of this entire continent by going to every team that you can. I support you, and I will fund your transfer fees if need be. So, yeah, this game it's hard to talk about because Cincinnati did what we expect them to do. They won the game on XG. They won the game because of their guys that they went out to win. They went out and signed to win games for them. And they don't seem to have any like regression that you might expect from them. I think DeAndre Yedlin has quietly been a very, very solid player for them this season. And on the first goal, on Evander's goal, he makes like this great run that completely just befuddles Andrew Gutman, and he's been quietly just really, really good. So good on Cincinnati. Good win for them. Top of the Shield, and maybe they deserve more plaudits. Sorry, Cincinnati fans. You guys are doing stuff that we kind of expect you to be doing.
Consolation. Yeah, you guys are doing it. Good job.
Yeah, like, okay. How about you give someone else a chance?
For real, though.
Boring.
Fucking real. Any other Cincy thoughts from the cast?
Okay, I have to address it. I'm seeing Palmeiras rumors, guys.
Oh yeah.
It might have been a fun start, but here come the rumors. What's gonna happen here? Okay. In all seriousness, Joss shouted out how good Cincinnati's front office has been, how they've been able to build a team, and how every GM should try and emulate what they've done. If every GM could pay $12 million for an MVP finalist after selling an MVP finalist of their own, I'm sure that they would do that.
True.
But Cincinnati happened to do it. Okay. Evander, he is vastly overperforming his XG plus XA by like 10 in terms of combined goal involvements. But also, who cares? Because the Timbers are getting a portion of money that still gets sent to them for, quote, performance-based incentives. We don't know what those performance-based incentives are. I'm going to try and figure that out. That's been my quest over this next month or whenever I can talk to Ned Grabavoy again. Yeah, so congratulations to Evander for continuing to give the Timbers money, even though he didn't want to be here. That's very nice. He will also give us more money when he gets sold to Palmeiras this summer. So, yes, because there's a sell-on clause in there. Once again, thank you, Evander. The other quick note I'm going to make about Cincinnati is Obinia Nwobodo is going to be out for a while because he underwent surgery.
Yeah, he's out till October.
I can't remember. Yeah, he's out for a very long time, and
That's
he
is
probably he is the most crucial non-Evander player in this team. More so than Defender of the Year Matt Miazga, more so than Celentano or Yedlin, the record signing for 2 days, Kevin Denke. Like, this is really rough for them. This is really, really worrisome. And they can't SEI him either because there's still the potential that he'll be back. And Brian Anunga is not going to replace that. How do Cincinnati fix the hole that is being left by Nwobodo is going to define the rest of their season.
It's gonna be exciting. I'm here for Cincinnati, honestly. After poo-pooing a lot of them, they also win a lot of close games. A lot of that overperformance happens like a lot in a vacuum, right? But it's put them all together, and that's the Cincy season so far. Moving on, I'm going to talk about the Red Bulls, who have recently been kind of shafted by the referees, I think. But beyond that, we had Lewis Morgan come back. Yay. Lewis Morgan got injured again. Oh, no. And Cameron Harper got injured as well. So in an alternate timeline, he's banging in goals for the Colorado Rapids. But in this one, he's out for the rest of the season. So two very dynamic wingers for Red Bulls gone. In comes Mo Sofo and Serge Ngoma to kind of fill up the spaces left behind there. TBD on Red Bulls. The more they play Omar Valencia, the more happy I am because it's less Raheem Edwards. But overall, the Red Bulls are they're not too far from their neighbors in New York City and just being a very meh team. Though I do kind of rate this team a bit more than NYC. Felipe Caraballo is leaving. I think where's he headed to? Is it Gremio that he's going to? So another.
Yeah, his loan's just ending. He's going back to Gremio.
So he's going back. My bad. Yeah. So, I don't think the Red Bulls are gonna miss him. Stroud is just as good in that position, and Edelman, both of them kind of two of the more defensive pivots in the league, but a strong pairing there. I don't know. Red Bulls, they're just kind of there for me. They got a good result here, 1-1 draw on the other side of the country to San Jose, but this one also left a lot for me to be desired. I don't know. Any thoughts on this Red Bulls team from the fellas?
I wish I
I
had
had thoughts on Red Bulls. I wish I did.
Yeah, I mean, they're just.
My thought.
What's up, Jeremy?
Really quickly, my thoughts on the Red Bulls are to ask Juanners for more of his thoughts on the Red Bulls. Do you have an Omar Valencia update? How did he do in this game?
What do you mean? How did he do?
What was he? What was he still being very good? Because I think I'm starting to get on the Omar Valencia bandwagon. You've been very convincing, and I was
this
hoping
one,
for an update.
I think it was. I was expecting this one to kind of be Houston, San Diego, and it just wasn't. I don't know if that was just Bruce setting up his team to contain a team like New York well. But generally speaking, like if you've looked at the last few games for the Red Bulls, they've been mixing up their back line quite a bit. Alexander Hack keeps coming in for Shawnee Alice, and then as I said, Edwards comes in quite a bit for Valencia there. But I mean, like there is not really many bright spots for either of these two teams is the thing, and one big thing from the last game that New York's would be pissed about is the I don't know if you guys saw it, but they had like a breakaway chance, and the referee blew stoppage.
I did see that.
Yeah, they were like on a clear-cut breakaway, and the referee blew the whistle. Schwartz was vehemently like upset, but not much to say about Valencia for this one, just because he was. I mean, this whole game was kind of a stalemate.
The Valencia watch continues.
as it will, because that's the only reason to watch the Red Bulls. Pivoting over now, ahead of the Red Bulls is New York City, and ahead of New York City in 10th is Miami. They had a bounce back game against Montreal. A crazy Messi run. I know people love to hype up the Messi free kicks. They are amazing. But the Messi I grew up watching is the Messi that just takes on dudes and no one can stop him. And he just blitzed through this entire Montreal back line for the third goal of the game. I lost count when that one was, but 4-1 for Miami here against Montreal. It kind of went about as well as you expected to go. no Noah Allen, and I thought they were going to be a lot worse for that. They got Aviles, who was a bit better, but still. Messi with the very rare mistake. He assisted Owusu. Perfect pass into Owusu, who scored the only goal for Montreal, and then afterwards, Miami just poured it on. They are without a doubt one of the most fun teams, but man, it's Miami. You know what I mean? Like, does anyone have a earth-shattering Miami take? Are they ready to cast doubt on this team yet, or are we just waiting for their 4 games in hand to cash it and make them good again on the standings?
No earth-shattering Miami takes.
They're Miami.
They're
I'm
Miami.
surprised that Toronto's lasted this long, I think.
We'll see, right? 4 games,
Yeah.
losing streak incoming. Come on. Pray for this.
I guess. But like Miami, they didn't regress as much as like I thought they might.
Yeah, which is
I don't know. Am I the dumbass for thinking that maybe Messi and Suarez and Busquets and Albo and all these young players who they sign who are really good, like, am I the dumbass for thinking that they're going to be bad? Maybe.
Well, they did have a rough spell before Club World Cup, and got to mention the Porto win. That was kind of massive for them. Even if Porto are a bit mid, but no earth-shattering Miami takes. And I don't think you're wrong for thinking they could be bad. I don't want to say they still could be bad, but gotta see the next few games there for them to really. They have 4 games in hand, but you still got to win those games. So we'll see. Well, I mean, these next 4 games will tell you how much of a dumbass you and I really are, because I've doubted them too. So I'm right there in that boat with you.
I'm watching it on the edge of my seat because I don't want to be the dumbass.
They can crush anybody or lose to Toronto on Sunday Night Soccer. You just don't know.
MLS, baby. Let's talk about Portland. Daniel, going over to you for this one. Tell us about Portland, and then we'll surely go to Jeremy as well, who's got some things to say as well.
Yeah, this is a blessing because nothing I'm going to say is going to be as entertaining, as insightful, or as well constructed about Portland as anything that Jeremy is going to say. But I'm going to just call out a few things that stood out to me about Portland before we kick it over to him. This might have been the worst Kamal Miller performance I have ever seen, and I was trying to get to this while I was talking about New England, and I couldn't really get here without bringing up Portland, and I was really trying not to do that. But if the goal of playing 2 strikers is to stretch out center backs, right, and they're only playing 3 back there, which is kind of the perfect pairing you want for 3 for 2, and you have a guy play as poorly as Kamal Miller did and not score any goals off, or only score 1 goal off of it, really. Kind of like, what are we doing here? But I think when you put that in perspective, I think Finn Sermon was really good, and I think Zuparek was also very, very good. I think they made good substitutions that kind of flipped the game on its head a little bit, and I think DaCosta's a really good player, like we've talked about. Again, I think that second goal, if you give a guy of his quality and caliber 12 seconds to make a decision, line up his shot and shoot it, he's going to score 8 times out of 10. But overall, I mean, kind of expected. This is kind of what we expected. Portland's really good. They're very deep. They're good at every position, and they just kind of took advantage of a very inconsistent New England team. But yeah, my big takeaway is that Kamal Miller, I mean, for that he's got to become a complete team and be able to really beat anybody. I think they got to come up with a better solution long term for this 3 back, because he's a very vital part to that. All right, Jeremy, what you got?
It's very interesting that you brought up their depth and how they're very good in every position, because they don't have a left winger right now. But you know what they do have? They have Ian Smith. Ian.
I'm about to say, you're talking shit about not having a left winger, and I watched Ian Smith hit a fucking screamer. He seems to be doing a decent job filling in for Anthony.
He's a wing back. There's a difference. There are times where he's been asked to play on the left wing, and I'm like, oh. But like when you put him at wing back, which is the position that he played in college at the Denver in the box state, he's going to score goals. And goodness me, what a goal it was. His first ever professional goal. And he gave the Timbers an early lead, which they promptly pissed away because it's not so much that this is one of the worst Kamal Miller performances you've ever seen, because I'm kind of convinced you haven't been watching a lot of him over the past couple of years. It seems like there's such an easy exploitable weakness whenever Kamal Miller is in this team. You just have to get behind him, and you have to get him defending on the back foot, and good things will happen if you're an opposing attacking team, and that's what they did. But this game, once again, David DaCosta wins it. It's the second game that he's actually won for the Timbers at home. He scored 2 goals at Providence Park this year. Both have been game winners in the second half. That's pretty good. Pretty good return. A lot of the discourse surrounding this game is about Kevin Kelsey and whether or not he is, oh boy, like they're treating him like he's already brought in to be the first choice striker, and he's 20 years old, and I'm getting a little tired of it. Let the man grow. This is a guy who shows up to training and he's wearing long sleeve like rain jackets in the sun, and he's wearing short shorts and a tank top in the rain. He still doesn't know how to dress himself properly. Like, give him some time.
He rolls up in his tricycle.
Yeah, legitimately. He's just gonna need a little bit more time. He's fine. And plus 5 goals already, which is pretty dang good. My biggest my biggest takeaway though was how good Joao Ortiz looked, because throughout the majority of the season, it's been a question of, okay, like he there are times where he looks completely off it. He needs some time to the league, to adjust to the team, and here he was in this game setting the tempo. So more Joao Ortiz performances like this can really raise the floor of this Portland team, which for some reason already has a high respect and a higher floor they don't always play to, like they did last week in Toronto, where they probably suffered their worst loss of the season. I hope it is their worst loss of the season. I said that after losing 2-0 in Charlotte last year, it would be the worst loss of their season, and then they got pants by Vancouver in the wild card round. So I'm hoping that this time it actually stays true. But yeah, I'd say it's a relatively routine win. Caleb Porter returned to Providence Park for the first time since leaving the team in 2017. Olias Ivacic returned to the team for the first time. Returned to Providence Park for the first time as an opposing player. Ivacic got booed every single time he was on the ball. Caleb Porter got cheered, and neither of them left happy.
I do have a question for you. Why was Chara not in the starting 11? I don't know if you brought that up or not.
Because this was a game for Joao Ortiz, and Chara started last weekend against Toronto, and they looked terrible. Diego Chara not being an every week starter is a good thing for the Timbers, and the fact that he doesn't have to start every week is also pretty good. And especially after he put in not a very good shift, but a pretty lengthy shift against Toronto last weekend, I think it was the right move not to start him, and I didn't expect him to start either.
Okay.
Let's stick with
right.
stick with Daniel here. Tell us about Orlando, because
Guys, Orlando, they got some fucking dogs everywhere.
Muriel's been out of form though. How are we navigating that?
Enrique, Pasalic, Ojeda, these guys are dogs. They literally, I don't know the word for it. Like, you watch them, they literally can switch the ball around the field, do whatever they want. They play fast, they play slow, they play very, very well in link-up play. I mean, this team, there's a reason why they feel like, when we've talked about this all season about them is they feel like the kind of team that can win close games, draw out results, or they can dump 6 goals on you out of nowhere. It just, you don't really know where it's coming from. And they did it without Freeman. And honestly, I thought Thoralson looked really, really good overlapping Pasalic. So this team is just, as we've thought for a long time now, very, very good. Kind of really, really starts in their midfield, and the fact that they do have the ability to hit you on a counter or build up against you, so they can really change the way that they attack against you. Muriel's kind of hit a bad run of form recently, but he's still doing things that add value to the play. He assisted, what was it?
Pasalic?
He assisted Pasalic there at the end for the second goal, and that was just as simple as, hey, he didn't have any looks in the box, flipped it back to him, and Pasalic was basically had a clear shot at goal because of it. And a lesser striker maybe doesn't make such a simple pass because they're trying to do too much, and he just kind of let it run with the flow of the play. But yeah, overall, I mean, when you have that kind of luxury of, hey, our star striker who currently has 6 goals and 3 assists in the season, which puts him in the top 50 for goal assist contributions, which isn't really anything to shout about. And still, this is one of the highest scoring teams in the MLS. They can just hit you from so many different angles, and that's what really makes them scary. And really, the ability to stretch you wide like they can with Ojeda and Pasalic is terrifying. And if it wasn't for how good a guy like Anders Dreyer is doing in his first year, maybe we'd be talking about how good Pasalic rookie season in the MLS has been as well. But it's kind of been overshadowed.
Anyone else got some Orlando thoughts?
I love the Pasalic shout.
Thank you.
I have another Pasalic point. I think it's really funny that they sold Facundo Torres and brought in a player who's better than Facundo Torres.
That's amazing.
For cheaper, too.
I agree with that assessment. No Angulo. Angulo sat this one. I kind of don't mind him.
You can just picture Oscar Pereja with tears in his eyes turning in the lineup card with Angulo on the bench.
He loves him, bro. He would play every game. So Ojeda got to start at left wing. I know you have always wanted to see him on the wing, and he was out there, and Orlando didn't miss a beat, coming back 2-0 down. So let's finish things off here. Nashville, Philadelphia, 2 top of the table sides here in Philly and Nashville playing it out. I had Jeremey on this one, so just kind of help ring the final minutes of the podcast here. Sorry, on these two teams. Like tell us about the match. I know I felt bad because I gave you the 0-0 bottom of the East stinker. And I was hoping this top of the table, high octane pressing match would go crazy. I thought it was a physical match, 0-0, but I'm sorry, it was looking to be another 0-0 until a very late penalty, which Henny Mukhtar actually scored, which was crazy. But 1-0 Nashville Philly here. What'd you make of this one, Jeremey, for both teams as we wrap up the pod?
Nashville. How far you have come from being a team that no one wanted to see ever to now being appointment television. You know, if you told me that Nashville would win this game, I would have been like, yeah, sure, they would. When you told me they would win this game after being down to 10 men for what was it? That red card was the 63rd minute.
Yeah, it was pretty early in the second half.
A good portion of the second half, and they win this game on a penalty kick. I'd say that's kind of par for the course for Nashville. You know, my biggest criticism of them all year is that they've just been getting penalty kick after penalty kick. They have 10 penalties so far this year in MLS, which is more than the second place team, Colorado Rapids, who just also continue to get a ton of penalty kicks. So I
Not as good a
think
record
that,
though.
No, not as good of a record, but also Nashville's record isn't that good. They've missed 3 of those penalties, and Mukhtar has been responsible for a couple of those too.
I meant actual record because they have not lost since
yeah,
April
record.
19th.
That is true, and when you look at this run that Nashville has been on, that loss, by the way, was in Seattle, and the team that they started in that game included Jack Mayer, Ahmed Qasim, who's kind of gone AWOL over this run of good form, but that was a game that they played against a Seattle team, and it was a game they were kind of expecting. So good for them. But since then, the real catalyst for this was just thumping the Chicago Fire 7-2 the next week. Since then, their only draws have been against Atlanta, against DC, against Columbus and NYCFC, and then everything else they've won. They've won. Let's take a look at these. They beat Philly, they beat DC, they beat New England, they beat Chicago again, they beat Toronto, they beat the Red Bulls, they beat Charlotte. Wow, this actually isn't. Maybe these aren't a lot of very good teams in here, aside from Philly. But they kind of out Philly in this one. I think this game says more about Philadelphia than it does. But hey, you have to win your home games, and Nashville are now up to second place in the Eastern Conference. They're 1 point behind Cincinnati, and I think they look for better value for that first spot than Cincinnati does. So huge props to Nashville. They've really actually become a kind of appointment television. They have an Open Cup match this week against DC United. I expect them to win that. Then they play Miami on the week. Somehow a rival, because they've actually played a couple of intense competitive matches against Miami over the past couple of years. And then they have Columbus, Toronto, and then the big one when they travel to San Diego right before. They're not even Cup. They play Aston Villa in a club friendly. They should beat Villa though. That would be funny. But they have to play San Diego on a Friday night in California. That could be one of the games of the year. Not Atlanta DC level, but certainly a game that would be appointment television for anyone who wants to watch two teams who are very good with the ball, which Nashville absolutely are. This was a deserved win for them. They are, I'm very, very happy for them. And the best part about this season is they were somehow able to weather the stretch that they were without Walker Zimmerman. And now they didn't have Walker Zimmerman in this game, and they still kept a high-flying Philadelphia attack, which is still very chaos reliant, but they still kept it relatively in check, which good for them. Very good for them.
Let's talk about Philly for a bit to close things out, because do you guys remember my biggest gripe about Philly and why I had them last?
Center back depth.
Well, not just center back depth everywhere. Because it wasn't too long ago that Alejandro Bedoya was filling in at right back. And I said, if you're going to get to a point where you got to rely on guys in creative situations like Bedoya at right back, it wasn't in that same game last week. They had Jovan Lukic as a center back. Ian Glavinovic out for the season, right? Macania, like he has had, some great spells, and also he's also shown why he's still kind of a developing 21-year-old center back. Damiani, less hype, kind of fallen off a little bit here, but overall, I think the wheels are about to spin off. This is a back-to-back 1-0 loss. They lost against Columbus, so this just goes to show, you could beat your teams that you need to beat and go on these crazy streets. Damiani chant to the tune of "Body" by Megan Thee Stallion. Just sorry.
Damiani, ani, 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 ani.
Oh man, the things I read in the Discord chat. But like, here's the thing. Like, he was like my beef with Philly. It's like he is. They are just kind of a step below the real top, and I don't know if this is the start of their fall off. If they're about to crash down to the bottom, and my prediction were to, if they pull a reverse Galaxy, they just suck the rest of the season. But this is kind of one of the things I point to where it's like, yeah, like Philly is not they're not a complete squad, but Cardinal is just, still invigorating a lot in them. So, what are your guys' thoughts on Philly? If anyone wants to chime in before we wrap it up.
If I can make one counterpoint, it's that maybe it goes to show how important Quinn Sullivan actually is to this Union team when it comes to creating goal opportunities.
But
that's it.
That's right.
But Kevin Sullivan, he's going to Man City though.
Can I make a quick Kevin Sullivan point? I thoroughly enjoy learning each state's child labor laws whenever he's in the team. He made his first start in this one. He couldn't play past 9 p.m. He's out at the hour mark. I love that.
He's still at work though. I don't get that. You're still on the job. You're still on the clock. Is the game itself labor?
Yes. The rule in Tennessee is if it's not during the school year, you can't work past 9 p.m. if you're underage.
Do we know if he stuck around to do any like conditioning or anything? Like, did he have to give an interview? Did he have to do any press? Does he go straight home? Like, do his parents pick him up from the stadium and they have to road trip all the way back home?
I don't know if whatever lawmaker in Tennessee did consider Kevin Sullivan when making that law, but if they're looking for a reason to revoke it, which, child labor's fun, I guess. Kevin Sullivan is a great case study for it. But yeah, I actually don't know one. I don't know. Maybe they just like shove him in the locker room, and maybe they give him like tranquilizer too, so he's like technically asleep. I don't know.
Yeah, he just slept on the bus.
Yeah,
that's gonna have to look into that, because and maybe this is a wider discussion about the means of production of soccer players, whether or not they can seize it in their own ways. If that happens, does it happen on the pitch? Does it happen in the locker room? TBD. But if you've made it this far, you'd at least get a little bit of a random slice of MLS Marxism there. Marxism league soccer.
When Kevin Sullivan comes off the pitch, do you think he gets orange slices?
He's got it. That's how he gets paid.
He gets paid in orange slices?
Yeah, but you can't get anything else. It's just got to be straight orange slices and straight into the minivan. I wonder if his mom also takes off his shin pads. That'd be a very, very funny moment. But beyond that, any other final takes from the fellas here before we wrap it up on any MLS?
No, that was a fun one.
As they always are. Daniel, where can they find you in your banger tweets?
You can find me on X, the Everything app, at Vox Pro MLS. You'll see me on there as Major League Shill.
Jeremy?
You can find me on the Elon app at Sports Guy Jeremy, on Bluesky at jeremypearman.bsky.social, and you can read my work at cascade.com. Major announcement coming up relating to the publication. Stay tuned. It's a big one.
What is that publication again? You cut out a little bit there. I don't mind you saying it again, though. What is it?
The publication is Cascadia FC, which you can find at cascadiafc.substack.com.
Joss, where can they find you?
You can find me on the Elon app at Josh Bathtub, where I will be just in awe of Daniel's tweeting ability. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter under Off to See the Wizards, and now TikTok and YouTube if you're looking for sketches that I write in my childhood bedroom about Sporting Kansas City.
I mean, we had a big Sporting Kansas City start to this one, so I don't know if you had Juanners, dunking on Juanners in the pod, but
No, I did bedroom though. That was a part of that.
You can find me at juanners.bsky.social. I've logged out of my X account. I won't be on there until Porrick Smith gets the sack. So you'll know when I'm back. And that'll be when that happens. But you can follow Box State Footy at Box State Footy on all socials. Go to boxstatefooty.com and it'll link you to all the projects. Thanks for listening. If you've made it this far, we appreciate the support, the listenership. Be sure to review us 5 stars. Like, share, subscribe. All that fun stuff. We'll see ya when we see ya. Bye-bye.